inside of me. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy. To be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets claws real big, gets off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, loves of blood and gold. Always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel the force of blood in. If you start shit, you be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud.
Hello, and welcome to My Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick, and another day, another problem. What are we going to do? What is going to happen? Are we going to see it happen? Are we going to see World War III break out? I mean, the pieces are already lining up. The two big players have not entered the battle dome, and we're talking about China and Russia, refuse to enter the battle dome. They refuse to back up Iran. And I wonder why. Is it an entrapment type of thing? They're trying to trap in everyone to one location and then come on top of them and attack and go all out. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. I see grave danger ahead of us. The enemy is already within. The enemy is already within the Democratic Party. That's how bad the infiltration has been. And I'm still shocked that there's no accountability. No one's being charged with treason. No one is like, there's no accountability in Washington. So it's like they get to do whatever they want and they don't get into trouble. But if we do something, the regular people, we see years, decades in jail because of the same bullshit that they're pulling off. But we're going to go right to the videos that I have lined up tonight. It's going to be a great show. Hopefully it's not going to be a long show. I'm going to try to keep it to 2 hours. We're going to try, cross our fingers. You know that's not going to happen, but we're going to try. All right, here we go. Let's set this up. We're going to start off first with Jason A.
Entirely possible that by next year, before the midterms, you'll have U.S. ground troops in Iran. So I'm sort of taken aback by how fast things are moving along.
This just in, it's big. A U.S. official telling Fox thousands of Iraqi Kurds have launched a ground offensive in Iran. Decimated, destroyed, defeated. All words the Pentagon used to describe Iran's various military forces.
So in this class this semester, I'm making 3 big predictions, right? First is that Trump will win in November. Second is that the United States will go to war against Iran. And the third big prediction is that the United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
And so we are seeing right now that ground offensive has already begun.
The United
Hugely
States
significant indeed. Kurdish forces
Hammer
start
psychic.
movements against Iran. Jonathan Conricus, your take on exactly that, the significance of a move like this and the timing right now.
But Iran's showing it still has the power to fight.
Yeah, but for how
Tehran
long?
releasing this video showing off an arsenal of drones and missiles still capable of striking neighbours.
The process that has begun will soon reach Europe if countries think that they can sit safely in a corner until this war, this conflict ends and then take a share of it. They are gravely mistaken. The fire of this war is highly contagious and will engulf the entire world.
While cautious, some of America's traditional allies are preparing for a wider war. Greece is sending 2 frigates, France deploying an aircraft carrier group, 2 more frigates to the eastern Mediterranean. From the UK, HMS Dragon, its most advanced destroyer, due in Cyprus in a week. Qatar says it took down 2 Iranian fighter jets in its airspace and 98 ballistic missiles. British ground troops stationed in Iraq also downed drones. Its RAF jets already in the air, shooting down attack drones over Jordan and Qatar. Israel is fighting on a different front. Pummeling Beirut, targeting Iranian proxy Hezbollah.
Well, it's obviously designed to apply pressure on the Iranian regime. It is to signal to the Iranian regime that there will be pressure coming from various locations, from various ethnic groups. To put things into historic perspective, the Kurds are a large minority in Iran, but they're not the only large minority. Like them, there are the Baluchis in the southeast, the Azeris in the northeast, and other big ethnic groups that probably already are in some stages of similar developments. I think we could assess this ahead of time that the Kurds would be first because they are by far the most organized and they have a history of bearing arms and fighting for themselves. And I think this is designed mostly by the US to apply pressure on the regime. Now, to put it to contain it a little bit, I think we shouldn't expect
they put
things
female
that
soldiers?
the Kurds are not capable of. This isn't an expeditionary force. They
No, the
do
females
not have the
fight.
logistics or the manpower or the skill or technology to maneuver across lots of terrain and to present a military threat on Tehran or other centers of gravity of the Iranian regime. But definitely it will present pressure, and it will perhaps bring or motivate other groups in Iran to do the same thing, again, with the desired outcome to apply pressure on the regime. Now, the big question is, how will the Iranian regime respond? Will they respond by lashing out and actually engaging, allocating resources and fighting and with a lot of stress to it? Or will they make the smarter decision, kind of contain the situation and try to focus on other things that they have that are more burning? So far, the Iranian regime hasn't really managed this operation very well. So it'll be very interesting to see how they respond to this new threat.
Certainly is a fascinating development.
I watched a video of yours recently, and you talked about how Iran's objective, in order for it to have the advantage over the United States, is to bait them into a ground war. Obviously, after the Iraq war, that's like the dumbest mistake the United States could make. But you argue that it could still happen. How and why is that the case? If that is, like, it's not that, I can't imagine the U.S. doing something against its own interests. Of course it can. But something as catastrophic as putting troops on the ground in Iran, that is very surprising to hear. So how and why do you see that being
it cannot be just the United States.
Yeah, so
where the
I
fuck
use
is
game
the
theory
UN?
analysis in order to make predictions.
Where is the
So I'm
UN?
looking at the different actors in the region: Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United States.
They love cashing our
Iran,
checks, but they
are the
don't fucking provide anything.
Major actors, and I'm trying to figure out how they benefit as this game progresses. So, if you're the United States, then you definitely want to cement control over the Middle East for both trade purposes and for resources, right? Because Iran is basically the center of the world. If you control Iran, you control all global trade. You negate BRICS, you negate Belt and Road, okay? You basically isolate Russia and China. So from a strategic geopolitical perspective, the United States definitely wants control of Iran. But if you're Israel and you're Saudi Arabia, you don't want to become a vassal to the American empire. You don't want to become a proxy. You don't want to lose your sovereignty, especially Israel, because the entire point of the nation of Israel is to assert Jewish sovereignty, which they believe to be the biblical right. So in order for that to happen, the United States needs to be destroyed. The United States needs to lose a ground war against Iran. So Saudi Arabia and Israel are both heavily invested in seeing a U.S. ground invasion. And if you watch my previous videos, you will know that Saudi Arabia and Israel are politically very strong in Washington, D.C. They spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of resources. They've co-opted a lot of politicians. Donald Trump has direct line to both Saudi Arabia and Israel through his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And Donald Trump has always maintained strong relations with Saudi Arabia. Like, where was his first foreign trip overseas in the second term? Saudi Arabia, right? So Saudi Arabia has a much more influence in the Trump White House than we imagine. So both Israel and Saudi Arabia want to see a ground war. Iran wants to see a ground war as well. And there are certain steps that Iran can take to slowly provoke a ground war. If Iran at any point were to close off the Strait of Hormuz,
the UN,
then that would compel a ground invasion in order to reopen that Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, if Iran were to close the Strait of Hormuz, that would collapse the entire global economy, right? Southeast Asia depends on the Middle East for its oil. The Middle East needs to export its oil to be economically viable. So Iran has a series of maneuvers, a series of steps to compel a ground invasion. And the last thing that I will say is the United States military has become an imperial bureaucracy. It doesn't really have strategic foresight. It doesn't really do strategic planning anymore. It's very reactive. It's very intent on maintaining.
All right, this guy. Listen, they giving him his 15 minutes of fame, and that's all he's getting. It's just his 15 minutes because anyone could have predicted Trump could have fucking won the war. I was even saying that we were even going to go to war with fucking Iran. So I don't see me getting 15 minutes of fame, especially like last week when I just predicted that we started the war, that I felt that pressure in my left ear. I felt that hard pressure and I was like nervous. I was like, did we just start war? And I'm looking throughout the internet to see if there's anything breaking out. And sure enough, it did. And when I found out the next day when I woke up, because it happened when I was asleep. The call was made and I intercepted it on my left ear and I felt the fear of everyone. Like, I felt that energy and my ear popped and I was like, did we just start war? Like, if you go back and watch my show, you would see, like, I was watching and you can go back. I even remember the number. It was 1 hour, 38 minutes and 20 seconds. And it's right where Tyson de la Cruz, it was towards the end or like almost close to the end. And we were watching Tyson, and I got that pressure pain in my ear, and I automatically I was like, "Are we going to war? Are we at war? Are we like what?" And I tried looking, and I saw people praying on other channels, and nothing breaking out, nothing, no news, no nothing. So I was like, "Okay, well," I just kept going on with the show. I get off, I finish the show, I go to sleep. And I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, that's crazy, right? And then I was watching everything going down, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I called this last night. Like, and I went back to watch my show, and I saw at that 1 hour, 38 minutes and 20 seconds. And then right at the 25-second mark, that's when I get that pressure pain in my left ear. Man, so many people are telling me, go back to doing your psychic work and going back to what you used to do. I was like, yes, I would love to, but it does take a lot of my fucking energy. Like, people have a lot of energy. You guys are motherfucking batteries. If you didn't know by now, you're a fucking battery. And you project a lot of energy. It be positive from a lot of people, and there's a lot of negative from a lot of people. And it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, I still get drained either way. And because it takes a lot out of me, because I'm tapping into the ether and then I'm giving the readings based on what I'm hearing. Like, I always said, I'm just a relay guy. I just hear the message and I pass it along. That's up to you, whatever you want to do. That is up to you. But this guy here, I think he's just in it for the 15 minutes. Okay? Because I predicted Trump winning and I predicted a lot of stuff. Okay? But yet, I don't get no 15 minutes. I don't even get 1 second. I've been stuck at like 548, well, 47, then 48. Someone subscribed. So thank you for that one that who's subscribed. But I've been stuck at this 540s for a very long time. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on that YouTube doesn't push me out? Like, there's no way, right? And it's because I'm producing a lot of this, like the media. I'm showing off the world, and I'm like, look at what the fuck we're missing, And there's a lot of things going on, especially behind the scenes, like China. You always got to keep an eye on China, We got servers, we got military on the West Coast and everything and so forth, but I'm not really worried about China. China just wants guarantees that their oil is going to be okay for them, you know, because they do consume about 50% of the oil. It comes from Iranians, you know, so like there's a lot on the line here, and you don't want to tread, you know, on people. You know, you want to liberate, and then, you know, if they could come back to how they were, and have the right like mindset administration to come through. I don't care if it's a king, I don't care if it's a prince, I don't care if it's like I really, or a president. But this Ayatollah stuff, they gotta put that to the side, you know, because it screams out too much religion, you know, and it should be neutral. And hopefully they'll do that, you know. Hopefully it'll be a country that can be neutral, or they can be back how they were in the like. I'm thinking like 1920, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and early 70s, you know. And then the fuck up happened on 79, and it was so bad, but yet Reagan didn't do shit. You know what I mean? And that's why I put Trump above Reagan when it comes to the top three. You know, it's like and Reagan is it's like he's mostly like probably like number maybe 5 on the list. You know, because Trump is so much better than Reagan, and what we're going through right now and witnessing, and then you have the Democrats acting so crazy on Trump. They're just like chihuahuas. They're a bunch of chihuahuas, and then like the Republican Party are a bunch of fucking like pit bulls, and then they're looking at the chihuahuas, and they're like, "What the fuck? Like we could just like end this right now." I mean, send them all to jail because there's so many treasonous people in Washington D.C. right now, especially the AOCs and the loser Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, we're gonna get to the loser bracket for Jasmine because she had a unforgettable night last night. But let's go ahead and finish up with Jason A, and then we're gonna continue on with the show. But I should get back to my psychic stuff because this guy, he's trying to take credit, like, oh my god, I predicted this, and now I'm gonna predict that the ground troops are gonna go in there and do all this, and the U.S. is gonna lose. Okay, a man that talks with his bottom jaw is a man that you don't trust. Okay. He covers his frontal lip. He doesn't speak like he's like, and he knows he's talking out of his ass. You know, and if the U.S. is going to go in Iran, it's not going to be alone. They're not going in Iran alone. It's going to be Israel. It's going to be Saudi Arabia. It's going to be Qatar. It's going to be Kuwait. It's going to be like all these countries are going to come together and be like, okay, enough's enough. We're going to clean this all out and we're going to start this fresh. And it's not going to just be the United States. You know? Now, if China decides that they want to like contest and fight with the US, bad things can happen to the Chinese naval fleet. You know, we do have a video of a torpedo coming from a submarine attacking the granddaddy of them all of the Navy ships that Iran has. I tell you right now, Bikini Bottom, you got a fucking ship down there, SpongeBob. You could go play with Patrick on the Iranian ship that got sunk in sea. Yeah. And you thought you were going to get away with it. because they sunk them like pretty close to Indian, like close to, well, it was on the Arabian. I think I'm trying to think of that area. Fuck, I gotta get a map. Hold on, I have my phone because I want to make sure. But I hope everyone's having a good night tonight. You know, it's like it's fucking Wednesday. You know, it's fucking hump day. It's more like a fucking headache. So it got sunk on the Arabian Sea, right? Going away from Iran. This cut this punk out. Like that guy is, you know, when a real psychic and a real person that actually knows what he's doing, like see things, hear things, and then you have this guy just like, yeah, well, you know, they're gonna have all this. The U.S. is just gonna come with their own ground troops and just invade Iran. Are you stupid? Like, didn't hear what fucking Trump said? Like, we have ways of winning this war without even a man stepping foot on Iran. Like, the weaponry that the US has is very futuristic. They have very futuristic fucking weaponry, and you know, China's like in the sidelines, like watching. They want to see what the fuck the US has. So the US is not like really like showing off too much. Israel showed off. They showed off a nice weapon that the United States sold them. A laser weapon that I talked about years, like 8 years ago, but they debuted it just the other day. So this is something that it's all history, right? And they're gonna try to, like, they're gonna be writing all this. This is all being written every day. It's gonna be put in a test book. It's gonna be put in history. So people are gonna study this. Yeah, I'll be talking more throughout the show. But let's finish with this fake prophet. It's 15-minute paper psychic. I call him the 15-minute paper psychic. So let's listen to the 15-minute paper psychic, and then we'll come back to me. Oh Lord. I know. Okay, here we go.
Hegemony doesn't really look forward. And at the end of the day, let's just say the United States loses a ground war against Iran. What are the consequences? Well, the major consequences is you have these very unpleasant congressional testimonies in Washington, D.C., where the U.S. military is harangued by congressmen. That's about it. I mean, it's not a big deal if the United States loses a ground war in Iran. But you have these very actors
you know that, right?
Compel a ground war. And that's why using game theory.
Yo, has this guy ever served a day in the military?
Than it is not.
The Secretary of War says
has this guy ever served a day?
We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters are arriving just today. We can sustain this fight easily for as long as we need to.
The White House reporting more than 17,000 Americans have returned home safely from the Middle East, and repeating the president's motivation for the operation.
Any weapons?
This is a rogue terrorist regime that has been threatening the United States, our allies, and our people for 47 years. This is a president who has been remarkably consistent on this issue, that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. And the president tried peace through diplomacy exhaustively and extensively. He and his team gave it their best go, and the president ultimately came to the determination of that peace was not a pursuable path. The Iranian regime, they want death, they want destruction, they want to kill Americans, and that's unacceptable to this president. It's intolerable to him as commander-in-chief.
Today, it appears he is closer to that goal after an American submarine sunk Iran's prized ship with a torpedo. It's one of the few instances of a sub doing so since World War II.
Three big predictions. One, that Trump would win.
I did that.
That he would start a war with Iran. And
I
3,
knew
that the U.S.
it's
would
not even
lose
start a
that
war.
war. It's quite a
They
stunning
started
prediction.
with their
Do you stand
bullshit.
by it?
The reality is that right now it's a war of attrition.
This is paper psychic. Your 15 minutes is almost up. I'm back to me. Terry, listen to this shit. Trump was gonna start the war. No, Trump didn't start shit. We waited. We actually 10 days. We gave him 10 days and had meetings. Train of Truth and the phone rang at the same 2 times. My phone went off. And I'm talking the truth. We gave him 10 days. And of those 10 days, we already had a lot of shit moving around in this world heading towards Iran. Those 10 days, those were bumper days. Like, this is like to like give time to the military to position themselves, which they did. Like, the Ayatollah is dead. Like, people like are not realizing this. Like, why is the media continue to push the stupid narrative, right? They get this stupid paper psychic. Like, oh my God, you predicted Trump will win. Bitch, I've been predicting that shit for years. And the fact that he lost against Biden was bullshit because in reality, we know the truth. That's all I can say because then YouTube starts acting funny with my channel. We know the truth. We know what happened. I felt the energy when it changed. I have the video because I was doing a show that night. Yep. I have that video. I should just put it up on YouTube so you guys could watch. No one has seen it because it got taken down and behind the scenes, but now I have the ability to bring it back up. And I cannot be censored. Because if I do get censored, listen, I can just write, I can just make a couple of calls. I call my congressman. I know a congressman that's running now in this midterms out of Connecticut. So, and he's in my district. So, yeah, like, I just make a couple of calls and be like, you know. But these paper psychics. And then the way the media phrased the question, like, you correctly predicted Trump would win, and you correctly like that Trump will start a war with Iran. Bitch, we already knew this shit was gonna happen. I knew this shit was gonna happen a long time ago, but the only reason that it did not happen is because the idiots could be released a fucking virus that spread throughout the whole world, and it was the weakest fucking worst. Like, yeah, it killed a lot of people, but a lot of people. I just feel like this virus was just a fucking hoax. You always talk about conspiracy theories. That virus we went through. That's the true conspiracy theories, right? Like, in the Epstein files, you'll find a lot of information about that pandemic that we went through. And I tell you right now, they released it on us. I was right about where they released it from. If you go back and watch my show, I predicted this. I was talking about the fucking, like, the lab and everything. Those videos are still on YouTube. The fear is having the government come and be like, we need you. I'm like, you gotta take care of my cats. You gotta take care both of my cats and me. And I'll help. But that's all I could do. I can't do anything fucking physical. Fuck that shit. My fucking neck hurts just thinking about it. Oh. All right, let's go back to the paper psychic and the fucked up media. And you feel the energy, right? Because you hear how they talk, like CBS and all these like left wing media, like they they don't ask you or tell you. They just like push it on you, and they're like, yeah, you're correct. You are so correct. Oh my God, can you tell me what's gonna happen to me? That's why you see people like you come to me. I am a real psychic. I fucking do tarot card readings. I do that's how I started my fucking show. That's how this is how it all started. Go back and watch my very first episode with Anna Navarro. You'll see. I ain't hiding shit. It's all there. Got a fucking 1,000 videos for you to watch. 1,000. Have fun. I'm going down in history, data history, that people could go back and reflect on me and be like, holy shit, this motherfucker was just more right than right. More righter than this 15-minute paper psychic. All right, he's pissing me off. Let's finish up with the paper psychic.
Between the United States and Iran. And the Iranians have been preparing 20 years for this conflict. And now they have a pretty good strategy of how to weaken and ultimately destroy the American empire. So what the Iranians are doing is they're waging war against the entire global economy. And so they are striking the GCC countries. They're going after the critical energy infrastructure. They blocked off the Strait of Hormuz. And eventually, they will go after the water desalination plants, which is the lifeblood of these nations because they don't have fresh water supply. The Iranians are actually threatening the very existence
He's telling
of Saudi
them what to
Arabia,
do. You know that, right?
Qatar. And what this
You
is
know that,
important
right?
is that
He just told them what to do. Sorry, paper psychic. He just told them what to do. He told the Iranians what to do to hurt them out, because they do like take the seawater and they convert it to drinking water. And if you destroy that, then they don't have anything to drink. They have no water. And that will destroy a city. That's what he was just telling the world. This paper psychic was giving instructions to the Iranians and what to hit. That would be most. Where's this guy at? Is he in the United States? Can he be charged with treason? I mean, he's something's not right about him. Coming from a real fucking psychic. Yeah. Something's not right with that dude. Something keeps telling me he's being paid by someone. Possibly within the Soros. Could be. You know, there's a lot of actors in this world. There's thousands of actors that are crisis actors that they would put on television like this and give them their little 15 minutes of fame. Because that's what they're going to run with, the media. Because the media is part of it. They're the problem. All right. Let's go back to the fucking paper psychic.
That the Gulf states are really the linchpin of the American economy. So what they do is they sell petrodollars and then they recycle the petrodollars back into the American economy through the investments in the stock market. And right now, we know that the entire American economy is propped up by AI investments in data centers. And a lot of that comes from the Gulf states. So if the Gulf states are no longer able to sell oil and they're no longer able to finance AI, this AI bubble in the United States, then this AI bubble will burst, and with it will burst as well the entire American economy, which is really a financial Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, sir, an Amazon data center was literally hit in the UAE. Now, we also wanted to talk to you about munition. The United States is racing to accomplish Iran mission before munitions run out.
The United States military is not designed to fight a 21st century war. Remember, the military-industrial complex came to being after World War II, and it's designed to fight the Cold War. And the Cold War was really about muscle flexing, who was to first get the person on the moon. And so the entire American military strategy revolves around very sophisticated technology that costs a lot of money to build. And that's what the American air defense system is. And that's why we're seeing this asymmetry in this war, where you have these $1 million missiles trying to take out these $50,000 drones. And it's not sustainable in the long term. And so what we're seeing is really the puncturing of the aura of invincibility that sustained American hegemony for the past 20 years.
You know something? Paper Psychic. Jason, hey, that was a good upload, but damn, that Paper Psychic. Oh, he has a critic, and I'm one of them. He doesn't know about the futuristic weapons that we have, and actually that's attached to our jets. That especially the B-2 bombers, they have these laser weapons that if you were to shoot a rocket towards these warplanes, they will blow up those rockets before it even gets even close to the plane. You know, I mean, the future of warfare is going to change. You will see futuristic weapons like lasers. Like, we don't need to be shooting rockets if we have lasers and like special weapons. I'm afraid to talk about it here because I don't want them to fucking knock on my door. I don't want them to knock on my door. I already know these motherfuckers. Like, anyhow, you're safe if you say less. That's how it is. If you talk too much, they're listening. They always listen. They're always listening, trust me. That's why I don't talk on the phone anymore. I don't talk on the phone. I talk on here. You know, I do my show and stuff. You got you got me. But like my phone, I only use it to like text and to like watch YouTube and get filled up with input. More input. Like, yeah. But I don't call. I remember my father a long time ago, he always told me, they're always listening. So watch what you say on here. And my father, he was a Freemason. Oh, surprise. Oh, yeah. You know, he used to get these pins and rewards and stuff, and they would give him the little G with the little fucking, I call it I forgot the damn what we used to use back in school. Remember that had that fucking like the metal part with the fucking other side with the pencil, and then you would just do we used to use, I think it was for geometry. I'm trying to remember. I'm fucking high. Coming from a real fucking psychic, this mother paper got his fucking 15 minutes and he's getting paid. I'm fucking here struggling. Barely got 2 people watching. I do this fucking almost every day. Nobody pays attention. That's the problem. They told me that. They told me I had a sensory priestess told my friends, and they told me. So I knew. They're like, when the sensory priestess told them that they need to listen to me, people need to listen to me, but no one does. But it's okay, because the ones that do, they'll be okay. Feels like Jesus a little bit. You got like that Jesus power. They got the Jesus power. I'm watching everyone. Trust me, I'm reporting all y'all motherfuckers. The good ones too. If y'all good, I'll still report you guys good, you know? But the bad ones, y'all fucked. Y'all know who you are. Y'all know who you are. And it's not a curse. It's a promise. I take my medicine. After that fucking paper psychic gave me a fucking headache. Because I see the bullshit. It's like when you're able to see things and hear things and you can feel it, and then you hear the way he's talking, how he's talking, screams agent, screams being paid behind the scenes, like big time distraction. Then like that's when you start paying attention to what's going on over there. Don't let this distract you. Don't let that distract you over there. Like, pay attention. Your body tells you your energy from within, because we're all batteries, so we all have this detector inside. I have my detector. I have a where is it? I have my K2 meter here. I have it on this thing. Hold on. Here it is. Let me take it out. Put my thing back here. We all have this like K2 meter. We all have within ourselves. We have this meter, and sometimes I pick up energy around me when they come like near me. This will go like super red. Right now, I like this. There was a spike right here, but there should be nothing around me right now. But if it spikes up, it will tell me. It will go straight red, and it has gone red on me before. When I did an investigation years and years and years ago, when I went to this home that a friend of mine lived in and stayed at, and he was chased by a spirit that chased him up the stairs. And he was like, it was real. Like, I saw the guy. I ran up the stairs and closed the door. And I looked out and there was nobody there. But I felt it. I knew that was the truth. And I went over there and I did an investigation. It was on YouTube. I did it on YouTube. You gotta go look for it. Good luck. Have fun looking. Remember, it's almost 1,000 videos. Well, I have 1,000 uploads, over 1,000. The videos, I don't know really how many videos I have. I know it's a high amount because I do lives all the time. Every time I'm on here, I do lives. Just recently, I just started doing the shorts with like sometimes I'll put the shorts of places that I go or visit, and Niagara Falls, of course. I always show you guys Niagara Falls. But yeah, it's just life is short. Just enjoy it, man. That's all like in my head told me to say that to y'all. Life is short. Enjoy it. Drink it up, man. I miss Chris Jericho. This thing was going crazy a little bit right in front of me. I hope I don't need batteries on this thing. It's easy to change the batteries out on this. But it's working. No, the batteries are high. As you see when I turn it on and turn it off, you see it turn red. Like, hold on. Zoom in, bitch. This is the zoom in part. Here you go. Let me turn it off. And turn it on. You see how it turned red like that? So it tells you that it's on. Imagine if I leave it out here and then it just turns like straight up red. Y'all freak out. Like, holy shit, what the fuck? Yeah, it's happened before when I did my investigation and I was asking it questions and stuff. And then, if they could make it go red, and it did go red. I had them turn on the flashlight and the flashlight turned on. Like I was like, okay. So I knew the motherfucker was there. So I'm not afraid of them. I don't give a fuck. At this point in my life, I'm like, listen, you could scare me, you could do your slamming, you could do your shit. That's fine. At least I could witness it and be like, yep, that motherfucker's here. Let me see what the fuck he wants. What the fuck you want, motherfucker? I'm aggressive with the spirits. I tell them straight up. I curse them out. It's like, what the fuck you want? Like, what's your problem? You got a problem? You're trying to solve it? There's residue of energy all over the place. Even here where I live, I have shit flying off my bureau. Like I have my pill bottles fly off. Like just the other day, it flew out of my on top of my table out, and then I had one time a long time ago. Because the person who died here, the last person that I rented, because the person who died here, he was a priest, and he preached at a church down the street. He had his own place, but he fell really ill, and then he just passed out and died. And he died in the other room. So I already been on that room. I've done shows over there. I'm good. That room is crazy. But sometimes you get energy that comes through here and they just do certain things. I just tell them, you gotta respect my home. My home's protected. I don't accept this type of energy here. If you're gonna come in peace, you're welcome. But if you're gonna come acting crazy, see your way out, because I'm not dealing with this shit. And you got to be firm with them. That's it. Yeah. Go in there with an attitude and put them in their fucking place. That's it. Because I respect the dead, and I respect the spirits, and I respect the spirit world and the energy that's within it. And I've dealt with a lot of it. So I know what it's about. But I don't let that type of energy come and harass me. That's the last thing that spirit wants to do. Trust me. I have had my experiences with like the paranormal and things happening to me all the time. Like, should write a fucking book. It'll last you longer. It's like what I went through in life. And make sure you drink plenty of water. Drink water. It's good for your kidneys. You'll thank me later. All right, let's continue on with the show, because we're not going to finish the show in 2 hours. We're not. But we're going to go straight to Jasmine Crackhead, who lost last night. Such a pitiful event. But let's go watch here Benny Johnson.
We just got our asses kicked.
I am inevitable.
Trump. Damn.
I woke up this morning to Jasmine Crockett dancing in a Popeyes uniform
What the hell?
through the halls of Congress, which means it was a great morning. Just an amazing morning. We got fired.
Unemployment, please help.
This is what we live for around here. It is precisely how you should operate on the internet. Exactly why we do this job. It is a
what the hell?
AI is just something else. Just something else. Jasmine Crockett.
AI is fucking
lost
crazy.
her job and out of work. Dan Crenshaw lost his job and out of work. The takeaway message in all of this is you got to be your authentic self, and you can't turn on people, code switch, be a violent, unhinged neocon, say you're going to kill Tucker Carlson. I mean, what?
Crazy.
Exactly? It's on camera, by the way. If I ever meet him, I'll effing kill him, he says.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We talked a lot. If I ever meet him, I'll
effing kill him.
Yeah.
Dude, your mic's not even off yet. I mean, jeez. Trump spurned war hero Dan Crenshaw outed in a devastating and absolute fall from grace. Unlike anything I've ever seen in politics. Listen, Dan Crenshaw was elected in 2019, and he could have been a presidential candidate back when he was elected. Did a lot of good energy towards Dan Crenshaw. You remember it, obviously. It's guy was going viral and was, trying to, had a good pedigree, good background. But as Tucker Carlson called out, this man was a neocon who loved sending your money to Ukraine, who loved every single forever war that America could ever be involved in, who betrayed the people of his district, and they betrayed him back, or at least did their jobs, and by 15 points sent Dan Crenshaw packing. The response online, and obviously Crenshaw, somebody who was constantly working against Donald Trump, constantly working to undermine the president. Crenshaw lost his seat to Steve Toth by double digits in a major upset. 15 points is massive. There's probably never been a fall from grace as Dan Crenshaw. He lost a primary. Goes from POTUS candidate to primary loss. Congratulations. Political love child of Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger has been defeated. It's only a matter of time. Dan's one of the nastiest guys in Washington. Everybody. President Trump endorsed last night's races, won outright or advanced to a runoff. As an occasional reminder that your algorithm and or favorite influencer may not reflect real life, says James Blair of the White House. Here we go. Dan Crenshaw didn't see it coming. Oh, my. Okay. All right.
Damn.
Pronouns was, were. Oh, we'll get to Jasmine.
Damn.
Bye, bitch.
Damn.
The margin Crenshaw is getting beat by is insane. Is proof that you can take down an entrenched Republican like this if you run somebody good and actually have a campaign.
Wow.
Steve Toth. We'll get to who Steve Toth is in just a moment. Good morning. Dan Crenshaw's gone. Dan Crenshaw, sort of a reflection of, it's sad because in 2019, I'm not sure that it was this way. Maybe it was always this way, but people just sort of woke up to it. When Dan Crenshaw was elected in 2018, that's when the election actually was. There was a lot of positive energy. Again, the guy had a great hero story and was young relatively to Congress, came in with a lot of capacity to do media, talk, make waves. And then it just all collapsed, I think, and this would be my guess, because of two things. One, greed. He has the highest performing portfolio in Congress, I think, period. And a lot of people, obviously, when you do that, it's just a horrible look. It just sort of reeks of, obviously, insider trading. It's disgusting. It should be banned. People should go to prison for it. But also, just kind of like a hair trigger. He wanted to sue Sean Ryan. He's a massive YouTuber, attacking President Trump, attacking the MAGA base constantly, saying he wants to kill Tucker Carlson. People just sense that. They can sense the inauthenticity. They can sense the hair trigger, and they can sense perhaps different loyalties, right? So
I know we used to use
loyalty than
I
to
forgot the
your
fucking name of
constituents.
it. Such
And a lot of guys
time
who were sort of raised up in a inside of this military industrial complex ecosystem can be co-opted by the deep state, and quickly. Where do you think the stock tips come from, right? This is how we reform and improve the Republican Party, primary the rhinos, rather than voting for Democrats in some retarded attempt to teach the GOP a lesson or whatever. That's exactly right. Blindsided. Oh, boy. Dan Crenshaw out. Jasmine Crockett out. John Cornyn, you're next. John Cornyn headed to a runoff now. Their careers are over. Dan Crenshaw has lost his House seat, all the money, incumbent advantages. Can't save him from a primary from voters who've had enough talk from Republican politicians. Republican voters want action. They're tired of the establishment. This is the first of many. Only action can save them. Looking forward to his podcast with 300 viewers.
Damn.
Dan Crenshaw just lost his primary.
He has some viewers. I don't have 300.
Undefeated,
Yeah, I wish I
ladies and
had
gentlemen.
300.
Good effing riddance, Massey.
Two people watching.
Should be very, very worried about this result. It's a new ball game, and the incumbents can be taken down rather handily. Down goes Eye Patch McCain. Every single rhino in Congress should lose their seats. Congratulations. Dan Crenshaw is gone. Fourth time is a charge, but we got him. That's what happens when you run actual viable candidates. Is Dan Crenshaw the future of the GOP? No. The answer is no. Not sure what to do with my time now that Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, and Dan Crenshaw are all gone. One-eyed John McCain bites the dust. Good riddance to him. The Rhino era is truly and well over. 2017 will be amazing. No more eye patch. No more ghetto stiletto. Praise the Lord. Dan Crenshaw being primary. By the way, this is from George Santos, who was in Congress a couple months ago. Dan Crenshaw primaried and is out.
I don't want to get a fucking
country.
Come on.
Steve Toth. Let's go ahead and follow him. Husband, dad, grandpa, pro-life, Christian, GOP, MAGA, conservative candidate. Steve Toth out here getting some retweets, that's for sure. Steve Toth wins it. Nothing but love. Big time, ladies and gentlemen. Jasmine Crockett toppled. Jasmine Crockett. Career is over.
She was saying that the election was rigged.
Loses in the Texas Senate result.
That it was
she
rigged.
has lost by 7 points here in a race that was good enough in order to declare no runoff. Jasmine Crockett, again, screaming that is Democrats cheating in the election.
This type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating.
The Jasmine Crockett to Trump pipeline is great. Just get an orange spray tan for Jasmine Crockett. I can't believe that this didn't work. Can't believe it. Jasmine Crockett, the most cringe campaign ever. She launched her Senate campaign with this.
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Oh, so
she's a very low IQ person.
Oh,
She is.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Oh,
that wig is horrible,
now
too.
they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
So stunning and brave. Crazy, dude. It's crazy. We were and then you do a little creepy smile at the end. What is wrong with these people? Jasmine Crockett has conceded Cardi B's endorsement didn't propel you to victory.
Cardi B.
Congress.
Straight out of Congress. Damn.
Kamala Harris endorses Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. Here are two people you won't be seeing at President Trump's State of the Union. Yes, Al Green also, I think, heading to a losing runoff. Amazing what's happening. You dropped this, Jasmine Crockett. My advice to Jasmine Crockett is to lear to code. Hello, I am Cardi B. Can you endorse more Democrats? Cardi B endorsing Democrats. Kamala Harris, Jasmine Crockett,
Damn.
Newsom. I can't believe that this didn't clinch it. Trump ended the Ayatollah and Jasmine Crockett's career in the same week. Oh man, is Trump more ghetto than Jasmine Crockett? Got 34 felonies, 3 baby mamas, been shot, kidnapped, a sitting president. He's running government like death row records from the 90s.
Oh shit, that's funny. Oh no.
Please, Trump, share this. Oh, please, Trump, share this. The big takeaway here is that inauthenticity loses the day.
Yeah.
We called out Jasmine Crockett as a stolen ghetto valor code switcher. Last summer went viral for it.
She saw the money.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that's
Jasmine
what it is.
Crockett
It was all about the money.
is a liar.
And that is actually what they are fearful of,
People
is
can
my
smell this.
authenticity, because it rings true with every single American.
You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Maybe because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things
on campus mailboxes. And at that time, my school hired the Cochran firm. And there was a lawyer who graduated from University of Houston who was assigned to me.
You're not. We done picking cotton.
What the hell?
We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I want the American people to know that when you stand up to a bully, you win. Do not back down. Do not bend.
And I'm gonna be the first one. You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out, all right?
But at the end of the day, I am who I am and I am authentic.
What a great video here. Yep. Now you can be your authentic self.
Damn. At the Waffle House.
Oh man, the number one.
Don't ruin my Waffle House.
Video in my timeline.
No.
Ooh man.
What
a night. What a night. Yeah. Don't lie to the voters. This is a time of singularity where people have so much access to so much information. AI, they can fact check you. They know if you're lying to them. People know. They know it in their bones. We're spiritual beings. We can sense it. We know if you're lying. We know if you're authentic. And we know if you're, at the very least, doing a good faith effort at delivering for us. And so now you can deliver Popeyes or Waffle House. I think the internet is split.
No, not a Waffle House.
There's going to be Popeyes or
Popeyes. There you go.
It's your boy Benny.
Holding a drumstick. That's no one's holding a drumstick. Let's go back. Let's see. I want to do the drumstick. I don't know. Trying to get the. Let me see if I can do a slow motion so we can see it. Gotta go super slow. All right, here we go. It's a drumstick. The unemployment. This is the look at the drumstick in her hand, and this girl too, and this one. And they're doing that stupid dance they did at the White House, at the Senate there. And she's a congresswoman. This is crazy, right? This is in Congress, actually. But look how stupid. But they put her in Popeyes. They put her in Popeyes uniform. I didn't like the Waffle House one. Don't fuck with my Waffle House. She will fucking destroy Waffle House if she ever worked there. And those girls, they work hard there, and they will work a lot harder than fucking Jasmine does at her job. All right, let's keep it moving.
Last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II.
Clinton,
Clinton's
a Democrat.
Pete Hegseth confirming a torpedo fired from a
Clinton's a Democrat, and he slept with his Monica Lewinsky.
Ocean. You are looking at video of that incident on your
he
screen,
did.
with CENTCOM saying that U.S.
Came
forces
all over her
have struck
dress.
more than 20 ships from the Iranian regime as Operation Epic Fury ramps up. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno here with my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany, and also joining us today, Kayleigh McGee-White, Fox News contributor, and Benjamin Hall, Fox News senior correspondent and author of the new children's book, Read All About It. Now, CENTCOM also releasing this new video of long-range missiles used in Operation Epic Fury. The Pentagon says that this is the first time these long-range precision strike missiles were used in combat and that they provide, quote, unrivaled deep strike capabilities. Iran has attempted to retaliate, but Secretary Hegseth says the regime is far outmatched. Trey Yangst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Kayleigh, right now we have air raid sirens that are sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv.
Again?
Off in the distance right now, we don't see any sort of interceptions.
They're not going to stop this. It's going to be like this for a while.
Sirens sounding across the entirety of central Israel. Throughout the day, the Iranians have continued these missile launches. The Israeli military telling Fox News that dozens of missiles
They need a
have been
spot where
launched
they
into
shoot the
Israel
missiles
throughout
from
the
and
day.
destroy that area.
Overnight, there was about an 8-hour lull in the outgoing fire from Iran. And we do know both the U.S. and Israel are going after these launching positions. According to the Pentagon, 86% decrease is what we're looking at since the first day of Operation Epic Fury. And I just want to look at my phone here. So sirens are also sounding in the West Bank and again across central Israel. And at this moment, they're going to try to shoot down some of this incoming fire. Okay, and just stay with me here. Hey, you need to pan up to the sky. You're going to see there's a little bit of debris in the distance. Just stay with us for one moment. It does appear some interceptions are taking place, but they're just on the outskirts of the city. And so when these sirens go off, people have just a few moments to get to shelters. These sirens are echoing throughout the center part of this country. Earlier today, what we saw was a concerted effort by Iran and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah to fire at the same time, trying to overwhelm Israel's air defense systems. They were unsuccessful in doing that, but it is a challenge for the civilians of Israel who have spent the past 4 days in bomb shelters as this war develops.
Trey Yangst, thank you. And as always, stay safe. Now, we have the privilege of having Ben Hall with us here. And Ben, we're going to talk about your book in a little bit, but we have the benefit of the majority of your professional experience being in the Middle East and covering it. So share with us your thoughts on how this is developing and what you think we see from here.
Well, I would start off by saying that for the last 15, 20 years, I've worked in the Middle East, and the story I have heard from day one is how Iran and its terror groups are the ones destabilizing the region, spreading the terror out. So what we are seeing now is an objective to remove their weapons, to remove their missiles, to decapitate them as well. And you heard Secretary of War earlier and General Kane saying that that was moving ahead of the expected speed. So it is going well at the moment. And I think that if the priority is to do that, they're doing it well. And I think that we're amazed to see some new technology being used, some new weapons being used by the US, and showing that there is no military might like them in the world. There is a big question about what comes next and how the regime might fall and who could take their place. You can't really begin looking at that until you have removed the regime itself, or at least removed the hierarchy of the regime. But it's really fascinating to see, and it's fascinating to see the impact this will have not only on the region, but on the world. You look at the impact in the relationship with China. You look at how the US will also be able to reduce oil prices if Iran is free. And so look, a lot of things happening at the moment, but certainly good progress at the moment.
Can I ask your point of view on the shift, given your substantial years of experience sort of viewing this, that it seems to be our allies have really strengthened regionally there, and that Europe plays in this, at least in this particular conflict, it seems a little bit more of a back seat role. So can you sort of comment on how we look in terms of strategically aligned with so many more Middle Eastern provinces?
Yeah, and you heard President Trump yesterday saying that Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, was no Winston Churchill. Where was the UK when the US needed them? When the US needed to use Diego Garcia, this incredibly important airbase, to launch their B-2s from, they weren't there. And now eventually we are seeing the UK get involved because their bases have been hit. Their base in Cyprus has been hit. Now Germany, which wasn't involved before, one of their bases has been hit in Erbil. One of their bases in Jordan has been hit. And finally they are coming on board. But where were they when the US said, we are taking down this regime, we are getting rid of its weapons, we are going to hit its nuclear facilities? Where were those allies at that point? They weren't there. And President Trump will remember that. In terms of the Gulf states and Qatar and Saudi Arabia, those countries also said at the beginning, no, we don't think there should be a war, you shouldn't get into it. Who were the first countries that were attacked by Iran? Those very countries. And it's interesting to see how they are now finally getting on board, when everyone's finally realizing that the Iranian regime will target people, luxury apartments, hotels, airports. They are after anyone and everything. I think finally people are realizing that it's time to hit them when they have to be hit.
Yeah. Kaylee, as we were speaking or receiving Trey's incredible reporting, the sirens going off and sort of the constant barrage. I thought about my constant WhatsApp threads with my friends there in Tel Aviv who talk about sort of the constant fear and this sort of new way of life. For example, a one friend who just had a baby, she doesn't want to leave the hospital because it's an hour away from home. And one of my friends who while in transit had to pull over for the sirens, seeking shelter in sort of a concrete tube. The point is that this is a phase of existence for them, which is in and out of shelters. So you don't really want to be too far away from a shelter at any point in the day. But importantly, I note that one of my friends say this, it's challenging, but there is a strong atmosphere of resilience, he says, in Israel. People are very hopeful that Trump and the U.S. and Israel allies will manage to lay the ground for regime change to happen from within Iran. We're preparing physically and mentally for a few weeks of this uncomfortable situation with a strength symbol. So it seems that these costs that are occurring right now, at least for our allies and for Israel, they are prepared to pay.
Yeah, and should the dynamic change in Iran, the people of Israel who have had to deal with this, their entire existence will have to deal with this no longer for the first time, safety and security and no worries of October 7th. Let me start, Emily, you've spoken so beautifully to our service members over there over the last few days, and we learned some of the names of the fallen today. Cody Cork, 35, he was in Lakeland, Florida. That's just down the road from where I lived in Plant City. It hits home when someone perishes as a hero so close to you. Nicole Armour, Amore, I should say, she was Minnesota. Noah Tehans, Nebraska, and Declan Cody was just 20 years old. So imagine being a 20-year-old your whole life ahead of you, and he sacrificed for our country.
Wow.
Let me speak to why
That's a young
their
guy
sacrifice
over
is
here,
so
Cody.
important. In Georgetown School of Foreign Service, we studied nuclear weapons a lot, and the academics would always talk about mutually assured destruction. And basically, if you fire a nuke, the other power will fire a nuke. But that entire dynamic rests upon the notion that you have rational state actors. I firmly believe that Iran was not a rational state actor. And I can say that confidently now. And why can I say that? Because they were encircled by an armada of the United States. They knew they were staring down the barrel of the United States military and the Israeli military, and they still refused to negotiate. In fact, they gloated, according to Steve Witkoff, about having enough material for 11 nuclear weapons. This is a regime chanting death to America. This is a regime, when they came under attack, what did they do? They attacked their neighbors, Saudi Arabia, who was staying neutral in this, who said the U.S. cannot use our air bases. They attacked their friends. So this is why they are not a rational state actor. It's distinct from North Korea, where, look, Kim Jong-un, all kinds of crazy, but he is rational, meets with President Trump, talks, not shouting death to America. The Iranian regime was irrational, and they could never have a nuclear weapon. And President Trump should be thanked from stopping that from ever happening.
Yeah, such a distinction between the Islamic Republic and the people of Iran, who felt so differently and who are all the people committed to this peace and just exciting liberation. And Kaylee, let's talk about the public perception of that. So, for example, we have a Fox News poll, we can pop that up on the screen, that shows that 61% of registered voters say that Iran poses a real national security threat to the United States. As well, a Fox News poll showing a 50-50 split among registered voters on approval of U.S. strikes on Iran. Now, note that 50-50 is up in the approval percentage from when the strikes began, which showed a much more lopsided percentage. How do you see that representing in the States?
Yeah, I think the sticking point is over how long this action is going to last. I think that there is broad approval for it in a limited capacity, but the longer that it drags on, I think you're going to see public opinion start to wane. And I see a pretty clear generational divide, actually, when it comes to public opinion on this issue. Based on my own conversations with other Gen Zers, I tend to find that many young Americans are more wary of military action overseas in Iran and elsewhere than our parents and our grandparents. But I think that that's largely because my generation has grown up in an era of unprecedented peace. And we grew up in an era of unprecedented peace because of U.S. military strength. And how is U.S. military strength maintained? Through strong deterrence. So I see President Trump's actions in Iran as a continuation of that. And I do think that this is actually an opportunity for younger Americans to carve a third path when it comes to foreign policy. I think that the debate is so often framed in terms of forever wars or no action at all. But maybe there's actually a time for quick, decisive military action that secures our national security. And maybe that's called winning. And I think for so long, we've forgotten what that actually looks like, that we can't even recognize it when it's happening. But I think that President Trump is actually bringing that back to the forefront.
And some have highlighted the fact that 6 months ago, everything similar was in place, including intel, but the political will was different, and certainly after attempts of unsuccessful deal making.
Yeah, so the winning, in my estimation, that's what's moving those percentages right now. You know, I caught something last night on X, and it was from the CENTCOM commander, Brad Cooper. And I have to say, I'd never seen this kind of detail, and he had the time to make a video and all of this. And then you saw the Secretary of War and a lot of people reposting it. Within minutes, it was 2 million people had watched it. Why? Because he's explaining in detail every step of what we are doing. And you think, okay, is that digestible for a mostly civilian public? Well, I guess it must be, because people want to know, are you going to keep your word and not get us into an endless war? And then I had on the vice admiral last hour, Howard, and what he said was he just played a round of golf in Abu Dhabi and that commercial flights and evacs were taken off from an airport that we know got hit. And so there is some pressure to get this done quickly, but to get it done well. And the American people are brought into that for so long. And we grew up military, you know this, Emily. People talk about military like it's something otherly, really since World War II. We're all in this together. And speaking of all of us, this was a headline just moments ago. 17,500 Americans have come home from the Middle East. The program from the State Department, the commercial flights, all of that is well in gear now. So people need to go to the numbers that I know we provided last hour. We'll do it again this hour. That is good news in all of this. That will move that number for support too. All of this happening still hours away from that War Powers vote today. I wonder if you might get maybe more than one Democrat to go with Republicans and President Trump on this, not just John Fetterman. Like, could you get more? We'll see.
Hey, it's Will Kane.
Hey.
Click here to subscribe
We're
to the
gonna go
Fox
ahead
News
and
channel
move
on
it a little bit
YouTube. It's the
along.
best way to get our.
All right, shut up. Hold on. So move this along here. Give me 1 second. Let me bring it to me. System's going a little wacky here. Just gotta bring me to the forefront. Just gotta cut this off here. Gotta do a little resizing. How's everyone doing tonight? We gotta talk about some Pokemon. That's what we're gonna talk about now before we watch the next video. Let me just a couple of videos that a couple of add-ons that I want us to watch together. And okay, so yeah, Pokemon. I did a little video earlier today in my shorts. I was very successful this morning. I woke up at 5:45-ish and got ready and went over to Walmart. Something told me inside me to go to Walmart today that Pokemon is going to be there. And I'm like, I never second guess myself when I have that feeling. So I was like, all right. So I got myself ready, got in a car, drive over to the Walmart. And then I was like, man, I think there's Pokemon. I have this feeling. It's a good feeling. Sure enough, I walk up to the desk. Pokemon! Yes, we got Pokemon. A lot more. I don't know if you noticed, but it's growing everywhere. It's growing on me. Pretty soon it's going to be all stacked up here. And I'm going to be like holding like these boxes up here. But we picked up another EBT, the ETB of the Ascended Heroes. So I got another Elite Trainer box. And then guess what? I didn't just get that one because there's two there. This is the original. The one down here, that's the first one I ever got. And I don't think I want to open the one in the bottom. The one on the top with the pin collection, I got that one today. And the Ascender Heroes on this side. You can see him. He's back there. Another ETB box. And then I got another Alakazam here. And I got a couple of other goodies all around here that I picked up. I picked up a couple of tins. You might see some of the tins on the table. Maybe we can add some more light to it. They said, give me 1 second. Let there be light. And we got a little bit of light there. Not too bright, but it's some light. And I was so surprised and happy that I was able to get the 2 EBTs of the Ascended Heroes. So I was like really happy, really happy to get that box. And I'm like, that's enough. I got what I wanted with the Ascended Heroes because I wanted an extra one. I wanted 2 of them, but then I was able to get a 3rd one, and I was like, yes, hell yeah! I was so excited, so excited. I'm still excited, and the thing is that I got perfect order coming in at the end of the month. Like, Rick, are you kidding me? I was like, no, I got perfect order. The Pokemon Perfect Order, it comes out March 27th. I may be able to get a ETB at Walmart. Maybe get a little extra EBT. The ETB, not EBT. EBT, that's what the illegals love to use a lot of. But the ETB, the Elite Trainer box, I like it. You know, reason why? Because I like the dinosaur, the promo it has inside. It's a little dinosaur, a little cute dinosaur. I think it's Tyrannus or something. I think it's the name of the Poke card. But it's so cute. It's so cute. It's a cute box. It's the colors is okay. I like the. I just want to see how. I got a 2 ETBs coming in, and then I got a booster box that has 36 packs in it coming in, and I'm gonna be ripping those one a day. It's gonna be part of the April Fool's celebration. April Fool's is gonna be the whole month. I'm gonna fool you guys the whole month. Now I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna open up the ETB of the Perfect Order, and so everyone can see what type of cards is in there. And I believe it will help my channel grow, because the more if I could show off product and show off more of the Pokemon, I think people would want to tune in to see what I will open next. Because I am going to open up a Alakazam EX box, which has 4 151 packs from the Scarlet and Violet set. 151 is one of the best decks, like one of the best like cards I think in Pokemon. Instead, I mean, the original is always going to be the best. The first, the first edition, the fossils, those are always going to be number 1. But the 151 is a really good set, and I was able to get. I got 1 box, I got 2 box, and I got a 3rd one right back there on the bottom there, like above the Superman there. You got a Alakazam EX. So I'm gonna probably shuffle those 4 packs from that set into the 36, right? And I'm gonna tag each pack with a number, and then I'm gonna pull a number from my phone from the wheel, and you guys could play along and guess what number it will land on. And and it'll be fun, a little something. But I'm just gonna do it that way, so that way I can go from that pack and then just open it up and be like, okay, boom, nice. If I get a hit, I get a hit. If I don't, then I don't. But I want to mix it in, because I want to be like, I want to put in some 151s, and then I want to put in some Ascended Heroes, and then I want to put in probably like an older pack, You know, I got a couple of older packs here. I even got a prismatic. I could put in a prismatic, and then I could put in I got Twilight Masquerade. I got oh my god, I got a whole bunch. Just here alone, it's just like I got the Scarlet and Violet, and then Pardarian Evolved. That's part of the Scarlet and Violet. I think this one's one I don't even want to open. I want to keep it closed. Yeah, so got a lot of goodies. But let's see. Mewtwo number 1 would be so expensive. Yeah, Mewtwo. Yeah. The chase card, I'm not sure on the new deck, the perfect order yet. I haven't really looked into it. The Ascended Heroes, like the Dragonite is really nice. The Pikachu is really cute. Like they got really nice cards that if you pull out, I would love to like pull a God pack. I've never had that happen ever. To have a God pack and have all the specials, and they're all like 300, 400, 500, 500, like, and then the real good card is like raw. It's like what, like 1,500, and if you get it graded and you get a 10, holy shit, that card is going to be expensive. So I'm hoping to get something really good because it's not really for me. Like I said, the excitement is for me. Yes, the excitement of opening it, I will cherish that and I will record it. And if I do get a God pack, I'm sorry, ASMR, I'm going to fucking scream. I'm going to scream. And then I'll stay quiet. Yeah. The first edition on eBay right now is valued at $92,000. Yeah, fucking crazy, man. I wish I would have been so, because at that time I was out of school, you know, I was out of high school and I was like working and trying to get to work and dealing with the military and a lot of shit going on at that time. So I really stopped getting into cards at that time. And I should have continued. I should have like went after like the Pokemon and you know, and just gotten a whole bunch of fossils and started like from that year when it came out. Like right now, I'd be so rich. Right now, I could have been a fucking probably multimillionaire with the amount of cards I would have had. And you know, sometimes it's a missed opportunity. That's what it is. All right, let's continue on with the show. And here we go with Jason A., I believe.
Breaking news today. There's a nonprofit organization called the Military Religious Freedom Foundation that has been flooded with complaints from our troops that officers are telling them that this war with Iran is part of biblical prophecy, that Donald Trump has been anointed by God, and that we are manifesting biblical prophecy to hasten the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Thanks, Tony. I think what we're witnessing here is the broadest war the Middle East has ever seen, with Iran targeting 11 countries, including Qatar and Kuwait, with those drones and missiles, many of them capable of taking out an entire apartment building. As just to the north of us, another front has opened up with Israeli troops moving into Lebanon.
We said yesterday that the area covered by the war was regional, the whole of the Middle East up to South Asia. Well, today, that area seemed to get even bigger when the United States sank an Iranian frigate off the coast of Sri Lanka.
The first NATO country has been dragged into the war.
It has. Good morning. Yes, Turkey, and really it risks dragging the entire 32-nation-strong alliance into it via NATO's Article 5, which in short is an attack on one, is an attack on all.
With those flashes of fire overnight, explosions rocked Beirut. War expanding this morning to another front with tanks and troops, Israel announcing the deployment of ground forces into southern Lebanon.
Equally, the other boundary of this war is the NATO boundary in Turkey. And today, a ballistic missile was sent towards Turkey somewhere on the Iraq-Syria border with Turkey, and it was shot down by NATO air defense systems. Now, we don't know if that missile was deliberately targeted, was a mistake, or just a misfire. We're not sure. But the fact that NATO's air defense system had to take it down is a very good example of the fact that NATO has got to be on full alert that it doesn't get caught in the fallout from this war, which is broadening all the time. And while that is happening, of course, the exchange of missiles continues. The United States continues to target Iran. More than 2,000 targets have now been hit with missiles in that sort of pattern that has been repeated, and we'll see more of that in days to come. And while that has been happening, the Israelis are continuing their campaign in Lebanon. They've moved ground troops into Lebanon now. They've attacked in northern Lebanon with air power, and they've started to attack targets in Iraq. The Iranians, for their part, have also launched a series of attacks, and their attacks too, interestingly, have also covered attacks on Western bases in Iraq, as well as attacks, of course, on the Israelis, and attacks all the way around the Gulf region. And so here we are on day 5 of the war. It looks like day 4, but with this difference, that the war now is getting broader and deeper by the day.
In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly, with no shame, that they controlled 460 kilograms of 60%, and they're aware that that could make 11 nuclear bombs, and that was the beginning of their negotiating stance.
Wow. As plainly put as possible. In other words, Iran could have been with 1 week to 10 days of developing a nuclear bomb. And they were bragging about it to our negotiators, Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Jared Kushner. Now, if that doesn't curdle your blood, then probably nothing will. And you have leading Democrats saying that there's no imminent threat to the United States? Really? When will they open their eyes?
And this war only seems to be accelerating. U.S. nationals have been urged to evacuate not only here, but from 14 countries across the Middle East at this hour, as U.S. officials warn the most significant U.S. airstrikes on Iran may yet be to come, and more American troops are set to arrive in the region. Iran saying it is ready for a prolonged war, but so is President Trump, claiming that while the U.S. military has enough weapons to fight forever, he expects the mission should take 4 to 5 weeks. Shorter than forever, but plenty long enough to lead to big political questions back home.
Just to follow up on that point, a two-part question for you. On the question of regime change, can it be carried out in earnest without U.S. boots on the ground? And what is your biggest concern as you watch this unfold? In other words, what's the worst case scenario that you want the United States to avoid?
Well, I think the president was quite forthright in the Oval Office with Chancellor Merz when he said that the worst case would be someone else takes over. Maybe we did or did not have something to do with that, had a choice or not, but turns out to be another ideological hardliner like his two predecessors. In fact, the Assembly of Experts, of course, was meeting today to select the next supreme leader, and that was hit. That site was actually quite considerably damaged. I think you showed footage of that earlier. And so we'll see whether they reconvene and when they do and how quickly they do and how deeply underground that is. But again, the key is the U.S. from the air can do a great deal to damage these regime forces, but it can't bring about regime change through the air. In fact, the former Minister of Defense of Israel pointed that out today as well. So what would be the conditions on the ground that would enable individuals to rise up? And will they, in fact, do that? There are numerous opposition forces. There are Azeris, there are Kurds, there are Turkmen, there's even Mujahideen al-Khalq that we dealt with in the wake of the invasion of Iraq. The real question is there real military capability that would break off under a charismatic leader, galvanize all the people to take on this murderous regime that has driven Iran into a ditch economically and isolation internationally?
Now, US Secretary of War Pete Hegseth played down that possibility. One for now we don't have to imminently contend with because anti-missile systems, those aboard a US Navy destroyer, shot down the Iranian ballistic missile over Syrian airspace before it could strike the Turkish base that hosts American forces and munitions. As for another alliance of sorts, the so-called US-UK special relationship, well, after Donald Trump yesterday said Keir Starmer was no Churchill, the British PM responded.
Hanging on to President Trump's latest words is not the special relationship.
Pretty quick rebuke there. As for that British destroyer, the HMS Dragon, well, it's since transpired it won't actually be making its way to Cyprus until next week. Quite a significant delay for that RAF-based Akrotiri that came under an Iranian drone attack. With that delay, you can understand why Westminster-Washington relations are at a troubling low.
We support efforts to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace and security. Because Canada is taking the world as it is, not passively waiting for a world we wish to be. We do, however, take this position with regret because the current conflict is another example of the failure of the international order. Despite decades of UN Security Council resolutions, the tireless work of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and the succession of sanctions and diplomatic frameworks, Iran's nuclear threat remains. And now, the United States and Israel have acted without engaging the United Nations or consulting allies, including Canada. We condemn the strikes carried out by Iran on civilians and civilian infrastructure across the Middle East.
We don't need to tell you.
We implore all parties, including the United States and Israel, to
You are a
respect
part
the
of it.
rules of international engagement. Canada calls for a rapid de-escalation of hostilities and is prepared to assist in achieving this goal.
What a fucking idiot. Canada's a fucking idiots. They're like, we want to put an end to it already. Let's stop. We're going to all stop. No, we're going to keep going. And we ain't going to stop until they submit. And that's it. All right. What else we got here?
In the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship.
Whoa, look at that
it was
shit.
Safe in international waters.
Damn.
Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh. Now, this is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of US and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon. Sure, Iran will still be able to shoot some missiles and still be able to launch one-way attack drones at civilian targets, and their proxies will attempt to attack our embassies, bases, and soft targets. They are terrorists, after all, and they need to target civilians because they can't fight toe-to-toe. But we will find them, and we will kill them. We are only 4 days into this, and the results have been incredible. Historic, really. Only the United States of America could lead this, only us. But when you add the Israeli Defense Forces, a devastatingly capable force, the combination is sheer destruction for our radical Islamist Iranian adversaries. They are toast, and they know it. Or at least soon enough, they will know it. And we have only just begun to hunt, dismantle, demoralize, destroy, and defeat their capabilities. Just 4 days in. Starting last night and to be completed in a few days, in under a week, the two most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace. I hope all the folks watching understand what uncontested airspace and complete control means. It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders, flying over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over.
Yep, that's how it is. That's just how it is. All right, hold on. There's more here out of the torpedo. Want to see more of this torpedo?
Last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II.
That's War Secretary Pete Hegseth confirming a torpedo fired from a U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean. You are looking at video of that incident on your screen, with CENTCOM saying that U.S. forces have struck more than 20 ships from the Iranian regime as Operation
20.
Epic Fury ramps up. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Compagno here with my co-host Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany. And also joining us today, Kaylee White, Fox News contributor, and Benjamin Hall, Fox News senior correspondent and author of the new children's book, Read All About It. Now, CENTCOM also releasing this new video of long-range missiles used in Operation Epic Fury. The Pentagon says that this is the first time these long-range precision strike missiles were used in combat and that they provide, quote, unrivaled deep strike capabilities. Iran has attempted to retaliate, but Secretary Hegseth says the regime is far outmatched. Trey Yangst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey.
Yeah, Kaylee, right now we have air raid sirens that are sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. Off in the distance right now, we don't see any sort of interceptions, but there are sirens sounding across the entirety of central Israel. Throughout the day, the Iranians have continued these missile launches. The Israeli military telling Fox News that dozens of missiles have been launched into Israel throughout the day. Overnight, there was about an 8-hour lull in the outgoing fire from Iran. And we do know both the U.S. and Israel are going after these launching positions. According to the Pentagon, 86% decrease is what we're looking at since the first day of Operation Epic Fury. And I just want to look at my phone here. So sirens are also sounding in the West Bank and again across central Israel. And at this moment, they're going to try to shoot down some of this incoming fire. Okay, and just stay with me here. Hey, you need to pan up to the sky. You're going to see there's a little bit of debris in the distance. Just stay with us for one moment. It does appear some interceptions are taking place, but they're just on the outskirts of the city. And so when these sirens go off, people have just a few moments to get to shelters. These sirens are echoing throughout the center part of this country. Earlier today, what we saw was a concerted effort by Iran and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah to fire at the same time, trying to overwhelm Israel's air defense systems. They were unsuccessful in doing that, but it is a challenge for the civilians of Israel who have spent the past 4 days in bomb shelters as this war develops.
Trey Yangst, thank you. And as always, stay safe. Now, we have the privilege of having Ben Hall with us here. And Ben, we're going to talk about your book in a little bit. But we have the benefit of the majority of your professional experience being in the Middle East and covering it. So share with us your thoughts on how this is developing and what you think we see from here.
Well, I would start off by saying that for the last 15, 20 years, I've worked in the Middle East, and the story I've heard from day one is how Iran and terror groups are the ones destabilizing the region, spreading the terror out. So what we are seeing now is an objective to remove their weapons, to remove their missiles, to decapitate them as well. And you heard Secretary of War earlier and General Kane saying that that was moving ahead of the expected speed. So it is going well at the moment. And I think that if the priority is to do that, they're doing it well. And I think that we're amazed to see some new technology being used, some new weapons being used by the US, and showing that there is no military might like them in the world. There is a big question about what comes next and how the regime might fall and who could take their place. You can't really begin looking at that until you have removed the regime itself, or at least removed the hierarchy of the regime. But it's really fascinating to see, and it's fascinating to see the impact this will have not only on the region, but on the world. You look at the impact in the relationship with China. You look at how the US will also be able to reduce oil prices if Iran is free. And so there's a lot of things happening at the moment, but certainly good progress at the moment.
Can I ask your point of view on the shift, given your substantial years of experience sort of viewing this, that it seems to be our allies have really strengthened regionally there, and that Europe plays in this, at least in this particular conflict, it seems a little bit more of a back seat role. So can you sort of comment on how we look in terms of strategically aligned with so many more Middle Eastern provinces?
Yeah, and you heard President Trump yesterday saying that Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, was no Winston Churchill. Where was the UK when the US needed them? When the US needed to use Diego Garcia, this incredibly important airbase, to launch their B-2s from, they weren't there. And now eventually we are seeing the UK get involved because their bases have been hit. Their base in Cyprus has been hit. Now Germany, which wasn't involved before, one of their bases has been hit in Erbil, one of their bases in Jordan has been hit, and finally they are coming on board. But where were they when the US said, we are taking down this regime, we are getting rid of its weapons, we are going to hit its nuclear facilities? Where were those allies at that point? They weren't there, and President Trump will remember that. In terms of the Gulf states and Qatar and Saudi Arabia, those countries also said at the beginning, no, we shouldn't, we don't think there should be a war, you shouldn't get into it. Who were the first countries that were attacked by Iran? Those very countries. And it's interesting to see how they are now finally getting on board, when everyone's finally realizing that the Iranian regime will target people, luxury apartments, hotels, airports. They are after anyone and everything. I think finally people are realizing that it's time to hit them when they have to be hit.
Yeah. Kaylee, as we were speaking or receiving Trey's incredible reporting, the sirens going off and sort of the constant barrage, I thought about my constant WhatsApp threads with my friends there in Tel Aviv who talk about sort of the constant fear and this sort of new way of life. For example, a one friend who just had a baby, she doesn't want to leave the hospital because it's an hour away from home. And one of my friends who while in transit had to pull over for the sirens, seeking shelter in sort of a concrete tube. The point is that this is a phase of existence for them, which is in and out of shelters. So you don't really want to be too far away from a shelter at any point in the day. But importantly, I note that one of my friends say this, it's challenging, but there is a strong atmosphere of resilience, he says, in Israel. People are very hopeful that Trump and the US and Israel allies will manage to lay the ground for regime change to happen from within Iran. We're preparing physically and mentally for a few weeks of this uncomfortable situation with a strength symbol. So it seems that these costs that are occurring right now, at least for our allies and for Israel, they are prepared to pay.
Yeah, and should the dynamic change in Iran, the people of Israel who have had to deal with this, their entire existence will have to deal with this no longer for the first time, safety and security and no worries of October 7th. Let me start, Emily, you've spoken so beautifully to our service members over there over the last few days, and we learned some of the names of the fallen today. Cody Cork, 35, he was in Lakeland, Florida. That's just down the road from where I lived in Plant City. It hits home when someone perishes as a hero so close to you. Nicole Amore, I should say, she was Minnesota. Noah Tehans, Nebraska, and Declan Cody was just 20 years old. So imagine being a 20-year-old, your whole life ahead of you, and he sacrificed for our country. Let me speak to why their sacrifice is so important. In Georgetown School of Foreign Service, we study nuclear weapons a lot, and the academics would always talk about mutually assured destruction. And basically, if you fire a nuke, the other power will fire a nuke. But that entire dynamic rests upon the notion that you have rational state actors. I firmly believe that Iran was not a rational state actor. And I can say that confidently now. And why can I say that? Because they were encircled by an armada of the United States. They knew they were staring down the barrel of the United States military and the Israeli military, and they still refused to negotiate. In fact, they gloated, according to Steve Witkoff, about having enough material for 11 nuclear weapons. This is a regime chanting death to America. This is a regime, when they came under attack, what did they do? They attacked their neighbors, Saudi Arabia, who was staying neutral in this, who said the U.S. cannot use our air bases. They attacked their friends. So this is why they are not a rational state actor. It's distinct from North Korea, where, look, Kim Jong-un, all kinds of crazy, but he is rational, meets with President Trump, talks, not shouting death to America. The Iranian regime is
they respect
irrational,
America, though.
and they could never
They don't like
have a
America,
nuclear
but they
weapon, and
respect them.
President Trump should be thanked from stopping that from ever happening.
Especially
There's such a
Trump.
distinction between the Islamic Republic and the people of Iran, who felt so differently and who are all the people committed to this peace and just exciting liberation. And Kaylee, let's talk about the public perception of that. So, for example, we have a Fox News poll. We can pop that up on the screen. That shows that 61% of registered voters say that Iran poses a real national security threat to the United States. As well, a Fox News poll showing a 50-50 split among registered voters on approval of U.S. strikes on Iran. Now, note that 50-50 is up in the approval percentage from when the strikes began, which showed a much more lopsided percentage. How do you see that representing in the States?
Yeah, I think the sticking point is over how long this action is going to last. I think that there is broad approval for it in a limited capacity, but the longer that it drags on, I think you're going to see public opinion start to wane. And I see a pretty clear generational divide, actually, when it comes to public opinion on this issue. Based on my own conversations with other Gen Zers, I tend to find that many young Americans are more wary of military action overseas in Iran and elsewhere than our parents and our grandparents. But I think that that's largely because my generation has grown up in an era of unprecedented peace. And we grew up in an era of unprecedented peace because of U.S. military strength. And how is U.S. military strength maintained? Through strong deterrence. So I see President Trump's actions in Iran as a continuation of that. And I do think that this is actually an opportunity for younger Americans to carve a third path when it comes to foreign policy. I think that the debate is so often framed in terms of forever wars or no action at all. But maybe there's actually a time for quick, decisive military action that secures our national security. And maybe that's called winning. And I think for so long, we've forgotten what that actually looks like that we can't even recognize it when it's happening. But I think that President Trump is actually bringing that back to the forefront.
And some have highlighted the fact that 6 months ago, everything similar was in place, including intel, but the political will was different, and certainly after attempts of unsuccessful deal making.
Yeah, so the winning, in my estimation, that's what's moving those percentages right now. You know, I caught something last night on X, and it was from the CENTCOM commander, Brad Cooper. And I have to say, I'd never seen this kind of detail, and he had the time to make a video and all of this, and then you saw the Secretary of War and a lot of people reposting it. Within minutes, it was 2 million people had watched it. Why? Because he's explaining in detail every step of what we are doing. And you think, okay, is that digestible for a mostly civilian public? Well, I guess it must be, because people want to know, are you going to keep your word and not get us into an endless war? And then I had on the Vice Admiral last hour, Howard, and what he said was he just played a round of golf in Abu Dhabi and that commercial flights and evacs were taken off from an airport that we know got hit. And so there is some pressure to get this done quickly, but to get it done well. And the American people are brought into that for so long. And we grew up military, you know this, Emily. People talk about military like it's something otherly, really since World War II. We're all in this together. And speaking of all of us, this was a headline just moments ago. 17,500 Americans have come home from the Middle East. The program from the State Department, the commercial flights, all of that is well in gear now. So people need to go to the numbers that I know we provided last hour. We'll do it again this hour. That is good news in all of this. That will move that number for support too. All of this happening still hours away from that War Powers vote today. I wonder if you might get maybe more than one Democrat to go with Republicans and President Trump on this, not just John Fetterman. Like, could you get more? We'll see.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel.
Hey, go ahead. We're going to keep moving forward.
the Senate War Powers resolution. It failed 47-53. Chuck Fetterman, the lone Democrat, to vote against it, while Senator Rand Paul was the lone Republican to support it.
He needs to get primary.
On Capitol Hill here
Tell you
on
that
this
Ron
Wednesday
Paul
evening, and this War
bullshit.
Powers resolution gave lawmakers an opportunity to demand congressional approval before any further attack. They are carried out. The vote forced them to take a stand on the war shaping the fate of U.S. military members, countless other lives, and the future of the region. And obviously, we're getting into more about what's going on today. We heard President Trump. We heard the second briefing from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, also General Dan Kane, exactly of what is unfolding after launching that surprise attack against Iran on Saturday. Trump has scrambled to win support for a conflict that Americans of all political persuasions are wary of entering. But let's continue on. We're hearing support, though, from different people as well, including the former governor of Florida, Jeb Bush. He said here on social media, I recorded a special video message applauding Donald Trump's historic Operation Epic Fury and calling on all American leaders from both parties to unite behind a noble cause, freedom for the great people of Iran. All right, we're following this here on Live Now from Fox. Let's bring into the conversation right now Jeb Bush, also affiliated with United Against Nuclear Iran. We're going to be joined right now by CEO of that organization, also former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Mark Wallace. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Why is it important for you, and why do you feel this action in Iran was justified by the president?
First of all, thank you for having me on, and we appreciate the coverage of this very important issue and your thoughtful coverage of it. It's hard to find thoughtful coverage right now on a lot of this stuff. So look, we've been at United Against Nuclear Iran, we've been in the business of trying to thwart Iran's nuclear program, its support for terrorism, and its destabilization of the region, and frankly, the oppression of its people for nearly 20 years now. We've used sanctions, we've tried a variety of different tools. Successive administrations have said that Iranians must stop their nuclear program, have tried to negotiate with the regime to come up with a deal that eliminates Iran as a threat to the region, to the United States, and to Israel. And President Trump did exactly what each president has done prior to him, but he did it a lot better. And I think the Trump doctrine is beginning to form. The president said very clearly that he was ready to negotiate, sent his diplomats, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and said, let's come up with a solution that works, a real solution. I go back to the JCPOA in the mid-teens under President Obama, and I remember waiting, and I was hopeful. We worked with every president. We tried to be bipartisan. This used to be a bipartisan issue, even though I come out of Republican politics. And the first thing that happened after the JCPOA was world leaders in that region called me up, or I met with, and said, you know what? This doesn't cover ballistic missiles. Iran's going to continue to support terrorism. They're testing ballistic missiles, I think it was 8 days after entering into the JCPOA. President Trump said very clearly, let's have a deal, let's negotiate this. And Iran refused to negotiate in good faith. I think the Trump doctrine is beginning to form. The Trump doctrine, I think, can be summarized in a phrase: he means what he said. For once, America means what he said. And I think that that's been very, very clear. He wanted a diplomatic solution, but was not afraid to use American power to prevent a much more escalatory threat down the road. If Iran had double the ballistic missiles, more capable of ballistic missiles, or nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles, imagine the threat that Iran could have, that would have with us in the future. So his action was done to protect the United States, our allies in the region, from living underneath the threat of Iran's terrorism, its ballistic missile threat, and its a religious conviction to have a nuclear weapon.
And obviously what President Trump has said, taking out the Iranian supreme leader, the Ayatollah, it wasn't necessarily a part of the objective. That wasn't necessarily very clear, but they have clarified. Secretary of State Marco Rubio coming out saying it wasn't a part of it. Regime change was not the main focus of this. It was those ballistic missiles and also the Iranian Navy. But regime change is potentially underway there in Iran. We saw that with taking out the supreme leader and others around him. Do you believe regime change is the only way for change to happen in Iran?
Well, I always used to say, and I don't think it was, I think that the regime either had to change or the regime had to be changed. And if you have a regime that lived by death to America, death to Israel, and acted on it every day with the support of terrorism, with the pursuit of a ballistic missile program that threatened our allies and troops around the region, a proliferation of a drone program, the Shahed 136, that has killed American troops, killed or wounded the citizens of over 84 countries, is the drone of choice that Russia uses against Ukraine and is raining on Europe. Nobody should shed a tear for the Ayatollah's demise. This was a brutal man that was a brutally violent sponsor of terror and has the blood of Americans, Israelis, Arabs, and people of all faiths on his hands. So I think either the regime had to change, and President Trump gave them that option, and he said, if you don't change, there's going to be consequences. And for once, we have a president that is using American power in an appropriate manner to back up the diplomatic option, and also saying, look, we want to deal with Iran now before they have more ballistic missiles, before they have better ballistic missiles, before they have nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles. And you can see it. I mean, I know that it's a very, and I don't mean to sound critical of you because I think your coverage is great. I don't think that this is war breaking out across the region. You have seen some attacks where a few episodes of ballistic missiles and drones have gotten through to our allies. I think this is all predictable by our services. Is it tragic? Any loss of life, any attack is, but this is not a war yet.
And you mentioned that potentially this being not war, we're trying to kind of find the definition because Republicans in Congress are saying not necessarily war, but then President Trump uses the word war during that outcome. I want to ask you, what comes next? What comes the day after all of this? What is the U.S. exit strategy plan?
Well, it's funny. I do find it. I've been around politics and policy in this world for almost 3 decades now, and I will tell you, the war powers discussion happens. Whatever party controls the White House is criticized by the other party in Congress for failure to use, for Congress not going to Congress on any military action. So the Democrats use it against Republicans use it against Democrats, and we've seen it in every case as part of the partisan politics. But look, the real issue for us is Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. That used to be bipartisan. That used to be very, very clear. Both parties' presidents said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I think that means Iran can't have ballistic missiles because typically those are for wide area munitions, like a nuclear weapon. And look at the threat that is being actually acted upon with our allies in the region. Iran can't have a ballistic missile array, can't have drones that threaten America, its allies in the region. Remember, it was an Iranian Shahed 136 drone that killed American soldiers in Tower 22. Iran can't support its proxies. So I think that degradation of its military, degradation of its leadership that is based upon that, and hopefully having the Iranian people sorted out is a very good outcome for the United States of America, solely focused on American security, which ultimately, as Americans, that's what it should be about. Now, look, we all want the best for the Iranian people. They're a great people. We want the best for the people of the region. But this was a real threat to American security, the security of our allies, and particularly Israel. And dealing with it now in the manner of the Trump doctrine, either change or be changed, I think was the right action. And this is one of the reasons why we applauded President Trump. Hopefully, bipartisan consensus will continue to form. We used to always support when we have service members at risk in theater and offshore, we would always unite behind those actions and be concerned about our service members. It seems like we've lost our way in that area.
Secretary Hegseth noted that ballistic missiles, as you were noting, saying they're hunting some of those launchers. I also want to get into another component because the drones, the Shahed 136 drones, are so very crucial to this ongoing conflict. And I was kind of scrolling through your social media, and this came up from about a month ago as you were at the Munich Security Conference talking about this exact Shahed 36 drone, an Islamic Republic weapon of mass destruction. It's the true face of this Islamic Republic, potentially also causing challenges just based on the low trajectory, the slow nature of it. Does that concern you? We've lost 6 U.S. service members already to a potential drone attack in Kuwait. Is that drone a concern to you now in this ongoing, potentially wider conflict?
Well, you're talking to the CEO of an NGO and the man that is the only two Shahed 136s in private hands that we exfiltrated out of war zones. And if you went back farther in our social media feed, you'll see that we had that very same, another drone, Shahed 136, that we imported into the United States and did an event on Capitol Hill with Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, Ted Cruz, Brian Mast, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and a variety of others. Do you know how many Democrats showed up to that event?
Zero.
Zero.
I know.
Zero. And we were highlighting the threat that those drones perpetrated on America. They killed the troops at Tower 22. On Israel, they were launched against Israel. They were launched against the Saudis and the Emiratis. They were launched against the Jordanians, and they rained, 6,000 of them have rained on Ukraine and Europe. Maybe waking up to the fact that that's Iran aligning itself with Russia and others to perpetrate drone terror on all of us would have been the right effort. But you'll see, if you go back to that social media feed, that we showed the danger and the true face of that Shahed well before Munich and before that. And the thing that was very surprising at Munich, not to drift afield with you, is the Europeans were very concerned about Iran's supply of Shahed 136s to Russia because they threatened Europe and their ally Ukraine. Look, I'm a supporter of Ukraine. In full disclosure, I think that we should stand and support our Ukrainian friends. But it sure does ring hollow to me when the Europeans are running for the tall grass, not looking to support in any way the incredible danger that Iran presented to the United States, our allies, Israel, and the GCC, while certainly proclaiming that same threat in Europe against Ukraine. The hypocrisy of Europe on that point is incredible, in my opinion. I know they're very critical of the transatlantic alliance under President Trump, but any criticism certainly should fall at their feet with their failure to understand that drone.
Well, I'm glad I certainly asked about the Shahed drone, just based on your expertise, your insight into that on Capitol Hill.
I want to bring it to your show. We can put it on in studio, and you can do a program with the drone in your studio.
We might just have to do that, Ambassador. My last question before I let you go, because we heard
Yeah,
Press
much
Secretary
fun.
Caroline Leavitt, the first time they've held a White House briefing since Operation Epic Fury, saying boots on the ground, they're not a part of the plan of this operation so far. At what point potentially would they be? Would you envision it necessary for the United States to actually send American troops in?
You know, I think that the hangover, and I'm not criticizing anybody that feels the hangover from Iraq or Afghanistan. These are big challenges to our country and the source of enormous domestic debate. But the reality is the threat posed by Iran is very clearly being eliminated. But the threat to the United States and to our allies is being very clearly eliminated by the incredible prowess of our military, airstrikes, drone, and others, Navy, taking action to degrade their abilities in an incredible manner. And I don't understand the debate really on the boots on the ground. We have degraded Iran, and the number of strikes is becoming less and less each day as their capability is eroded. I don't see a circumstance why or otherwise, and I think the debate is politically charged and doesn't look at the reality of the contemporary circumstance with technology, the changing face of warfare, our abilities, our incredible supremacy in the air, our supremacy of technology, our supremacy in the military. I think it really is an unnecessary pretending of a political hangover from Iraq.
Yeah, we might be a long way from that. Obviously, people kind of interested about it. You heard the phrase boots on the ground. I just wanted to get your take on that. Ambassador, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your insight here on Live Now.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's keep it moving. Liberal Hive Mind.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's the meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. Well, I got to admit, I think Marco Rubio was onto something when he said that the, quote, old world was gone.
The world is changing very fast right in front of us. The old world is gone, frankly, the world I grew up in, and we live in a new era in geopolitics, and it's going to require all of us to sort of re-examine what that looks like and what our role is going to be. And we've had many of these conversations in private with many of our allies, and they are our allies. And we need to continue to have those conversations. And I think Saturday, hopefully, and the meetings we'll have there will move us in that direction.
Folks, if you zoom out of the Iran situation, it appears as though it's evolving into a massive geopolitical shift. So many doomsayers out there making all the most pessimistic of predictions. Destabilization this and buzzword this and that. But what if not? What if instead of destabilization, global chaos, and global threats, we instead get a global realignment for the better? It might be happening, folks. It appears we're in completely different waters. We are in uncharted territory. We got a situation unfolding in the Middle East here that seems truly unique. It appears as though the majority of the Arab world is now turning against the Ayatollahs in Iran. We got friendly fire in the Middle East, Iran attacking neighboring Arab nations, and that appears to be backfiring big time. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here as the IRGC runs out of resources and frankly is running out of friends. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, people, we got a massive development here. Saudi Arabia is now preparing to authorize devastating strikes on Iran as they believe Iran has crossed the line by attacking inside their border.
Military and diplomatic sources in the region tell me Saudi Arabia is very close to allowing its Air Force to strike targets inside Iran after facing unprecedented missile and drone attacks on its civilians, including incoming missiles today targeting Daman, its fifth largest city. Quote, the next 24 hours is going to be intense, I'm told. A line has been crossed, a well-placed official in the Gulf tells me. What's truly extraordinary, Harris, about this development is that it would not have been possible if Israel had not been brought in under U.S. Central Command at the end of the first Trump administration. Carrying out airstrikes takes tremendous deconfliction and coordination. Israel used to be attached to the European Command due to sensitivities with the Arab states that did not recognize Israel. That changed with the Abraham Accords. No U.S. personnel were killed or injured when the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was struck last night by at least 2 Iranian Shahed drones. The embassy was largely empty at the time. There is a division of labor right now in terms of targeting. Israel is targeting Iranian leadership, like that meeting that Trey mentioned of top religious scholars in Qom earlier today, where Iran's remaining top religious leaders were meeting to decide the successor to the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei.
We're also getting reports of an Iranian attack on the U.S. consulate in Dubai. Here's video footage.
Oh, you can't even stop those little propeller planes? Are you kidding me?
Well, leave from there, leave from there. Leave from there.
Important to note that no casualties were reported from that event. We've got the death throes of the Iranian regime here. I guess we got them hitting the panic button. This is full-on desperation mode, because how else could you explain making a military decision that poorly thought out? That's stupid. Attacking possibly the only people outside of Russia and China that might be sympathetic towards your cause? I can't even stress how bad this is for them. And now the situation appears rather bleak, I'd say. It appears Iran has no navy, no leadership, no air program, and now the possibility of their missile strikes and drone programs totally collapsing on multiple fronts. Firstly, the fact that they're getting bombarded by these freaking stealth bombers, just devastating, decimating blow one after another. American air operations are running day and night, absolutely neutering the Iranian offensive. And on top of that missile pressure, you've got the diplomatic pressure. They're now second-guessing launching attacks on American targets in neighboring Arab nations, but we're not. No, it's Operation Mega Bombardment, and it appears to be having a major effect based on the reporting.
Missiles, the cruise missiles. I think that the U.S. and Israelis have been very effective in taking out the missile launchers and hunting down some of the mobile launchers. They still are able to get some of them off, but I think Israel has reported that that on Saturday 90 ballistic missiles were fired at it. Today, just 20. So it is going down, and I'm hearing from CENTCOM officials that in fact they're seeing fewer and fewer in these waves. But again, these drones are causing a lot of damage. They're the ones that have struck these hotels in Dubai and Bahrain and elsewhere, and they're going to be a problem for some time.
From 90 ballistic missiles being fired to now just 20. Now, of course, you could argue that it could just be a momentary slowing down and then right back to ballistics as usual the next day. But again, it's a game of what ifs. You don't know. Maybe it's a 50-50. Maybe there's enough factors on the opposing side swing it in the favor of possibly being a trend, a downward trend for missile programs. Essentially, are
I had to put the show on my phone,
so kind of accounting for all the factors here. It's not looking great. You got most of the Western world in alliance. Maybe there's a few, criticisms here and there, a couple countries playing devil's advocate. But for the most part, when push comes to shove, NATO is NATO. Biggest global players will turn around and have their guns pointed towards Iran, figuratively and literally. It doesn't appear like China and Russia are, really chomping at the bit to come swooping in and saving Iran's freaking ass. No, it appears like they're left with nothing. And now even in the Middle East, I guess nobody wants to assume the role of being dumb enough to side with Iran. They have no one by their side except for, it appears, maybe Kim Jong-un. Then you got the situation of the regime basically being decapitated, except I'd say the decapitation at this point is more aimed towards the shoulders and the torso. A good chunk of the top has been chopped off. There's not much left in terms of IRGC leadership left. There's no more major Muslims left, no more Navy. Drone programs falling apart, missile programs falling apart, nuclear program has been turned to ash. It just appears like a total and utter collapse. At some point, capitulation and surrender, if it continues this way, has to be inevitable. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm not seeing the factors. Maybe it's going to end up in another 20-year-long war, somehow being fought in the streets. But I'm not convinced that's the case, especially considering the internal turmoil. The Iranian people are not originally Muslims. They were conquered. They were taken over by an Islamic revolution, and it's being enforced. Emphasis on the word force. There's not that theocratic alignment in the country. And so possibly, if weakened enough, maybe, just maybe, there's enough counter force to snap it back. And I think the probability is probably a whole lot higher as the Arab world now is turning their back towards them. And if that's achieved, holy freaking moly, would that be historic? Again, speaking of what I was saying in the intro, this, notion, this idea, this possibility of a global realignment, like Marco Rubio said, the old world being gone, rewriting history, a total inflection in the path. Well, think of the implications. If the Iran threat is eliminated, if all of a sudden we can get closer to normalization of relations in the region, if we start being able to dip in Iranian oil, if it's being sold in US dollars, well, Russia and China lose a strategic ally. America net benefits. And then on top of that, if the Muslim world now realigns militarily on our side as the big dog, as the big muscle in the region, the only close to nuclear state, Iran, essentially gets completely flipped over. Well, it could be the start of a brand new global dynamic if done in good faith, if achieved militarily in Iran. This feels like the closest we have been to having checkmate on Iran, and frankly, checkmate on Iran, on Russia, and China. From Venezuela to this, they're boxed in from all angles. Where do they put their king? It very well may be checkmate. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, they should put a crown on Trump's head. Keep moving, the king.
So when I'm going to give you some more updates of what's coming out of this war with Iran, we need to be keeping our eyes and ears open, not for fear, but so that we are informed, right? So it says Iran's experts have elected Mojtabi Kamani, whatever, however you say their names. You guys, I messed that up. It says the son of the slain supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, the new supreme leader of Iran, according to the report by Iran International. As per reports, this move was allegedly taken under the pressure from Iranian Revolutionary Guards. So this was right now what's being seen. I've seen on the news so far, people are saying that he's the front runner. He could possibly get it. But now we have confirmation. This is the new Ayatollah of Iran, the new supreme leader. I want to see how long it's going to take before they take him out, because they said anyone that is brought to the forefront, they will be taken out. And we know that they took out the original Ayatollah and several family members and many dozens of other top brass over there in the Iranian military, or they were, I guess, having a special meeting during breakfast, which was crazy because it's supposed to be Ramadan and you're not supposed to eat all day during Ramadan, but somehow they were having breakfast and they were able to get to him. Now this is something interesting I saw. Let me move this over a bit. I don't know why it's like that. It says Mojtaba, I think that's his name, has been supreme leader for a day, and the first thing he does is appoint Majid Javadi, pictured below, his right hand. And this guy is saying he's a psychopath who murdered his ex-wife and spent decades in Iran's intelligence apparatus. Very worrying sign. So just to give you an update, I don't know much about this guy. He looks, he looks a little nefarious, but this is war. This is what it's going to be. Now, this is interesting. This guy is also reporting that this is the pilot who took out Khamenei. His name is Halak boom, and he deserves to be recognized for the hero he is. Well, there he is. So I guess he is an IDF pilot. So I haven't seen anyone else put this picture out, but this is supposed to be the guy who did it.
He just put a target on his
in
back.
that first minute, right? In that first minute. All right. So now I want to show you. It says, holy smokes,
big bullseye on
Israeli
his back.
Telegram says this video is from Tel Aviv.
Damn. Got hit. That's crazy. And that's dust. It's not snow. Look how powerful, like all the dust coming down on the cars.
Now here is another video that is of Tel Aviv.
Down.
All right, and we have some more to get through. All right, so this is one of the things that's the issue. And let me read this to you, and then I'm going to show you the video. It says Hezbollah underground tunnel launch missile system in action. This footage shows something many people still do not fully understand about Iran's missile strategy since 2024. These are underground launch systems buried beneath soil, rock, and reinforced concrete, designed to conceal ballistic missiles until the moment they fire. What you're seeing is a concealed launch hatch opened from the ground itself.
But they could trace
no
it back.
visible launcher, no exposed missile battery, no traditional pad, just a hidden silo beneath the earth waiting. Iran has spent years constructing what they call missile cities, vast tunnel networks carved into mountains and buried underground facilities that store and deploy ballistic missiles. These systems are designed for survivability. If airfields, bases, or surface launchers are destroyed, these underground silos can still launch. The hatch opens, the missiles ignite, and within seconds, it is already accelerating towards its program trajectory. That is why underground launch infrastructure matters in modern warfare. It is harder to detect, harder to target, and allows missiles to be fired even after heavy strikes on surface facilities. This video is a rare look at the capability being demonstrated in real time. Missile warfare in 2026 is no longer just trucks and launch pads. It is hidden beneath the ground. I'm gonna show you this video, then I have another one. Now, I turned the audio off on this because it's just a bunch of like music or whatever, but take a look.
She's like me.
So this is it unearthing.
Yeah, it's underground. And it moves to the side and it's a missile.
And I have another one as well I'm going to show you. To understand why this war is so difficult, I gave you the video about the Strait of Hormuz on my last video, but this is for you to understand what is happening and why this is going to be very difficult. Not just with the Strait of Hormuz, our bases are getting hit. Most likely, Iran is going to hit the water systems over in different countries over in the Gulf states in the Middle East, which will, guys, if they don't have these water systems, because understand there's not a lot of fresh water, they need these systems that, say they hit the one in Saudi Arabia, well, they would only have 2 weeks before the entire country runs out of fresh water completely. 2 weeks. So this is why they are hitting strategic targets as well as bombing, nonstop into Israel. And they're showing that there's a lot of vulnerability in the Iron Dome. We're seeing that over and over. And the actual what's happening is that where you have these the things that essentially, Kai, sorry, my tongue is tied. Essentially, they have these drones, right? The drones are like $20,000 to $50,000. That's what Iran has. So while these drones go out, well, our anti-missile system will hit, and our missiles going out, they're like about $2 million each. So it is what will cost them $20,000 to $50,000. It's costing us millions. So we have to think about the cost of war and this, like the supply chains. This is, I don't know, and a lot of people are saying, and I believe this, just seeing the things that that are coming out, the reports, that we were not prepared for a long-term war. Essentially, the first thing that we heard was this was supposed to be a few days, and then we heard 4 to 5 weeks, and now we're hearing, well, it won't last at least a year. It won't last as long as a year. So we're talking about a possible draft. Remember, I gave you that information about how they had put out new draft information. I did a video about Pete Hegseth, right? That there's going to be an automatic draft, that they're bringing back, and even being able to draft women. Okay. Yep. I did that video last year.
Why they're going to bring it back?
November. Maybe it's probably time to refresh it, because they were all
about all the kids ransacking
ahead
the
of
mall?
time. Although a lot of Americans who are overseas right now are really upset because America's not giving them any help to get out, even though they knew that this would happen. Now, they said that, well, it just happened all of a sudden, so we weren't able to warn anyone. But that's not true, guys. That's not true, right? I don't know why the rush to suddenly hit Iran right now came about. I'm not sure why this specific moment, but it does feel like all of a sudden, and this is not like Venezuela, right? This isn't like with the cartel leader down in Mexico. This is not the same thing, right? Iran has been preparing for this. They see this as a fight against the great Satan, which is the West, which is the US. Right. So they have been, their entire lives have been focused on this, while we are thinking about all these other things, different wars, different things going on. Their entire apparatus has been focused on this. So this is why they are so strategic, and no one can dismiss this. Understand where this is heading. OK, so look at this. Take a look at this missile, this launcher.
But satellites should be able to pick that up. Should be able to pick up that heat sensor. See? You should pick up the heat sensor from there. Like, there should be heat sensor satellites that are picking this up, and they can coordinate that area and blow the shit out of those areas.
Look, you cannot tell that these things are underground. So this is the problem that we're getting into. And again, they have been saying that we're going to need ground troops. Now, our military is not saying that. Our government's not saying that yet. But every expert is saying, in order to win this, if possible, we are going to have ground troops. And by taking, I believe they thought by taking out the head, the government, the Ayatollah, and all these different people, that would decapitate them. But it just seems as though that they've had many layers, okay, probably hundreds of layers of people who are informed of what to do. So decapitating their government, it doesn't seem to really change anything for them. They still have all of this laid out. They have all of their missiles in place. And right now they are hammering in very, very key places that are needed in order to keep our allies on our side. Because I told you, with the Strait of Hormuz, this is going to affect, guys, Saudi Arabia would lose 90% of its economy, of its income, along with several other countries. And we're talking about countries in Europe. We're talking about China, guys. 80% of their oil they get from Iran. Same thing with Japan, 90%. So some are our allies, some are not. But think about those allies who are dependent on this oil. Their economy is. They're not going to allow their economies to collapse because of what the US is doing, right? Even though we may be allies now, if it starts to affect them in a certain way, there's going to be pressure to end this thing. And the US is not going to want to bow down. The US is not going to want to stop. We can't take that hit. So do you see how this can turn allies? This can escalate and escalate and escalate to the point where we see what happens in biblical prophecy where the entire world ends up turning on Israel. And that happens on the tribulation, on the end times, where peace agreements will be broken and that Israel will be betrayed. And now I never understood how, but now I am seeing this, and possibly how the US can be betrayed by these other nations because they don't want their economies to collapse, because the US, we haven't been consulting our allies about any of this. So again, we have got to keep a clear head, a neutral position, a neutral mindset, and understand this isn't about left or right. This isn't about any of that anymore. Like if you haven't realized that yet, this is not about left and right. This isn't about elections. None of this. We are talking about the last days. And right now you can see we are in the last seconds of the last days. And the more this escalates, the more this goes on, as we see more happen, and the toll that it takes on our troops as we lose more lives, as this costs more money, and the billions of dollars being spent on a daily basis, you're going to see tides changing, and possibly, which this has been talked about by experts, could it lead to civil war? So all of these things we're going to keep in mind. And guys, I want to show you again. I always show you this. So if you want to support the work that I have going on over here and all the research and things, you can go to realmelanieking.com. Pick up.
Okay, girl, we got to keep it moving because I don't want to be here all night. What's going on over there? Israel. Really tough rockets that are shooting there. Iran got really strong rockets. What a headache, right? It's like, fuck, I was just really in my home and my place got fucking blown up. But, fuck, man, this was a fucking mess. I have no power, no internet. Hey, the power's down. Blew up that building down. I think a pretty big building. Looks like pretty shit now. Don't worry, in the future they'll rebuild these areas and they'll be fortified. It looks like a stage, right? It's like a staging area, like a stage, like a Hollywood set. Kind of looks like a Hollywood set to me. I'm just saying. Let's keep it moving.
I'm going to play you a shocking video, an example of why Pauline Hanson, by the way, is getting so much support. Now, 2 days ago, our Senate, mainly the Greens and Labor, voted to censure the One Nation leader for saying this.
I've got no time for the radical Islam. Their religion concerns me because what it says in the Quran, you say, oh, well, there's good Muslims out there. Well, I'm sorry. How can you tell me there are good Muslims?
Now, as Hanson said in that same interview, she was not saying there are no good Muslims. As I've shown, she meant to say, how can you tell who will be good and who will be bad? Very important at the borders in particular. And we have now seen exactly that problem. We have seen that play out because of how some mosques are now mourning the death of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He's a terrorist, a mass murderer, a jihadist. And these mosques mourning this man's death, some of them are funded by Labor governments. Now, a dozen or more Islamic mosques and centres are holding ceremonies to mourn Khamenei, who was assassinated last weekend in an American and Israeli bombing. Now, bear in mind and caution, I am going to show you some disturbing images that really paint this guy's character. Bear in mind that this Khamenei, in just the past 2 months, massacred up to 36,000 Iranians protesting against his rule. He's executed political prisoners. He's had women arrested and beaten for not covering their hair. He has also hanged gays from cranes, declared death to America, and funded terrorist groups such as Hamas and Hezbollah, and ordered hundreds of deadly attacks on Israel and on US soldiers. Yet Sydney's Masjid al-Rahman Mosque, for instance, called for Muslims to come pray for this tyrant's pure soul. Other Sydney mosques had speakers who painted Khamenei's assassination as an attack on Islam. The kind of inflammatory message we've learned already is potentially deadly in this age of jihad. In fact, the Hussein et Sayyida Zainab non-profit Muslim Center got so excited that it posted this slick video praising the Hezbollah terrorist group, which Khamenei had funded to kill Jews. Now, I find this video shocking. It's promoting a terrorist group, which is actually banned here. It's saying that Hezbollah's victory will be coming. It's just a praise of terrorists of all kinds. Now, this Hezbollah, of course, is a terrorist group actually banned in Australia. Promoting it is banned in Australia. This Muslim Centre has now deleted it. But this screenshot of its Instagram page taken by the Australian Jewish Association shows it was there. But there's more. Sydney's Al-Zahra Mosque had a sheikh praising Khamenei as the embodiment of everything we wanted in a leader, helping Muslims to fight imperialism, fight Zionism.
We lost one of our biggest scholars, Islamic scholars. He was very well respected from everyone.
And as I showed last night in Victoria, the grief of Dandenong's Taha Foundation was so great that a singer broke down in tears for Khamenei.
What the hell? What the hell?
As I also showed last night, that Taha Foundation was actually promised $670,000 of your money by the Albanese government to renovate and extend their headquarters and pay for youth programs.
Was he crying or laughing?
Bribe for votes using taxpayers' money. But how many of the other mosques mourning Khamenei have been funded by Labor? Now, the Masjid al-Rahman Mosque that I mentioned, it's also held a commemoration ceremony for 3 killed Hezbollah fighters. Yet it has been given $33,000 by the New South Wales government, including this novelty cheque for $25,000 of that, with the signature on it of local Labor member frontbencher Sophie Kostis, as if she was donating her own money and not yours. As for the Al-Zahra Mosque that I also mentioned, it shares an address and a board member with the Al-Zahra College, which in 2024 got nearly $10 million in federal government funding, plus $2.4 million in state government funding. Now, of course, when all this came to light, the Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Anne Ali, who's herself a Muslim, she now claims she takes this news about the Taha Foundation in particular. Well, she takes it very seriously, she says. And she's now cancelled, late this afternoon, the $670,000 grant. But like I've asked before, why was this money given in the first place? Well, the government would argue that it had no idea it was funding what Pauline Hanson would call bad Muslims, or at least Muslims who worshipped an Iranian Ayatollah responsible for mass murder in his unending jihad. And fair enough. I mean, really, let's be frank. How could anyone have told Labor these weren't so-called good Muslims that it was handing your money to? Which is exactly what Hanson was trying to say when Labor and the Greens in the Senate screamed her down. And it's what every government should bear in mind when deciding which immigrants we let in.
Yeah, it's gotta go through a process, you know. Can't just come in and just expect everything. All right, let's keep it moving.
The Senate has failed to advance a war powers resolution aimed at blocking President Trump from using further military force against Iran. Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine introduced the measure. It was co-sponsored by Republican Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. It's the second time in less than a year Senator Kaine is forced to vote on war powers related to Iran. Last June, the Senate voted against a similar effort when the U.S. bombed 3 Iranian nuclear sites. The House is expected to take up a similar war powers resolution later this week. Speaker Mike Johnson condemned the effort earlier today.
Would empower our enemies, it would kneecap our own forces, and it would take the ability of the U.S. military and the commander-in-chief away from completing this critical mission to keep everybody safe. We're not at war right now.
All right, let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro. We're not at war right now, is what we just heard the speaker say. Break down the vote and what happens now.
Lindsay, 53 senators voted against this war powers resolution, which if it passed the Senate, passed the House, and somehow avoided the veto of President Trump, would require congressional approval for any further military action the administration takes regarding Iran. The Republicans who voted for a similar measure when it comes to Venezuela, Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, did not vote for this bill on Iran. In a post explaining her votes, Senator Collins seemed to suggest that the open-endedness of the operation in Iran was a factor. She wrote on X that passing the resolution now, quote, would send the wrong message to Iran and to our troops, and that providing unequivocal support to our service members is critically important, as is ongoing consultation by the administration with Congress. Senator Kaine said that he is expecting to bring this bill up again in the coming weeks, in hopes that senators who voted against it may flip their votes as the situation in Iran develops. And as you mentioned, the House will take up a similar measure tomorrow, where the expectation is that it will not pass, but the margins could be a bit slimmer. 2 Republicans in the House have signaled they will vote in favor of the resolution, and moderate Democrats have proposed their own alternative bill that would require the withdrawal of troops in the region within 30 days instead of immediately, as the current measure calls for.
Aaron Navarro, thank you.
Yeah. Let's keep it moving.
Why is it that across the administration you can't say what the imminent threat against the United States was that required us to launch this? And also, Prime Minister Starmer told Parliament today that his reason that he didn't allow the use of British bases was that he was not satisfied that there was a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan. Was there an attempt to provide the UK government with a legal basis for these strikes and a viable, thought-through plan?
To the first question, I completely reject the premise of your question. You have had the President of the United States, the Secretary of War, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Vice President of the United States, the Secretary of State. And now I am out here today to explain to you exactly what led the President to make the decision to launch Operation Epic Fury. And President Trump does not make these decisions in a vacuum. This decision to launch this operation was based on a cumulative effect of various direct threats that Iran posed to the United States of America, and the president's feeling based on fact that Iran does pose an imminent and direct threat to the United States of America, based on the fact that they are the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, based on the fact that they were rapidly and aggressively building up their ballistic missile program to give themselves immunity within their country alongside their Navy, so that inside their country, they could continue to create nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs, which would, of course, pose a risk to Americans in the region and even Americans one day here at home. And then another point on this is the president found that through these extensive, exhaustive, failed negotiations with Iran, that they were hell-bent on death and destruction. So again, the president was not going to be just another president on a very long list who sat back and stood by and passed the buck of this direct threat to the next administration. The president had a feeling, again, based on fact, that Iran was going to strike the United States, was going to strike our assets in the region, and he made a determination to launch Operation Epic Fury based on all of those reasons. And I would like the media to actually report on all of them, rather than just picking sound bites from one person in this administration and saying, oh, they're contradicting the other person. No, again, these decisions are not made in a vacuum. They are made by the president's feeling that Iran was going to strike the United States and our assets in the region, and he was not going to sit back and watch that happen. The determination was made that the president was going to strike first alongside Israel, and that has obviously been proven to be the right decision and an effective one at that.
Woo! Fire. Fire, fire, fire. Let's keep on moving.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing questions about his response to the war with Iran and the status of the special relationship with the US.
Is your special relationship with President Trump dead, Prime Minister? Has the British Navy become a laughingstock? When are you going to get Brits home?
But the Prime Minister says the crisis in the Middle East requires a cool head. John Craig has more from London.
When it came to the actual defence questions about the special relationship, that actually came not from Kemi Badenoch or other MPs, but it came from a Conservative backbencher, Gareth Bacon, who said, does the Prime Minister believe his dithering and equivocal response to events in the Middle East has made that relationship stronger or weaker? And that was when the Prime Minister really spelled out where he felt the special relationship lies after that brutal attack by the President last night. Now, he said that American planes are operating out of British bases. That's the special relationship in action. British jets are shooting down drones and missiles to protect American lives in the Middle East on our joint bases. That's the special relationship in action. Sharing intelligence every day to keep our people safe. That's the special relationship in action. And then he said, hanging on to President Trump's latest words is not the special relationship in action. But of course, the president has changed his position on Chagos quite a few times. Obviously, the president is very angry about the Chagos decision by the Prime Minister at the weekend. But the Prime Minister is sticking to his view. It's got to be a proper legal basis, and it's got to be a properly thought through plan.
Okay, that's what he says. All right, let's keep it moving.
This is also an emotional third rail here in New York City. We have controversial comments now from a local radio host about the mayor, Sid Rosenberg, posting online calling Mayor Mamdani, quote, a radical Islam cockroach.
That comment backlash from advocacy groups and the police commissioner. News for Government Affairs reporter has the latest now.
Oh, he's offended now.
It is a brutal government.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani today elaborating on
feelings
Iran
are hurt
when asked
now.
if it's better off without the Ayatollah.
I've said before that the Iranian government has engaged in systematic repression of its own people, even killing thousands of Iranians who were seeking to express the most basic forms of dissent earlier this year. It is a brutal government.
But the mayor's still voicing criticism of the U.S. and Israeli strikes, which killed dozens of Iranian leaders. Iran says many children were killed.
I am old enough to remember the devastating consequences of our country pursuing a war with the intent of regime change in that very same region.
After initially calling the strikes on Iran an illegal war of aggression, Mamdani has faced criticism from Iranian protester Masih Alinejad, who was targeted by her government. She accused the mayor of lecturing Iranians about peace and staying quiet when they have faced massacre. He also faced criticism from some high-profile Jewish New Yorkers. Hedge funder Bill Ackman posting, "So let me get this straight. You support the Khomeini regime that killed 38,000 plus protesters?" But even some more moderate pro-Israel Jewish Democrats like Senate leader Chuck Schumer are taking positions against the war in Iran.
This is not a necessary war. It's a war of choice.
Many Jewish New Yorkers are celebrating Purim in this moment. Many Muslim New Yorkers are celebrating Ramadan in this moment.
Mamdani said his job is to protect New Yorkers during this time of high anxiety. Mamdani grew a bit emotional when asked about some recent comments by WABC radio host Sid Rosenberg. In Rosenberg's most recent criticism of Mamdani's response to the U.S. and Israeli military action in Iran, Rosenberg called Mamdani a radical Islam cockroach.
To be called a jihadist mayor, to be called a cockroach. This language is both painfully familiar to me as a Muslim New Yorker, but also as someone who was born in East Africa.
Rosenberg made waves in October when Andrew Cuomo seemed to laugh along with his suggestion that Mamdani would celebrate another 9/11.
God forbid another 9/11. Can you imagine Mamdani in the seat?
Yeah, I could. He'd be cheering.
Mamdani today sidestepping a question about his police commissioner allegedly having a recent dinner with Sid Rosenberg. Jessica Tisch saying today in a statement, those comments were wholly inappropriate and deeply harmful.
This
And
feelings
Council
got hurt.
Speaker
Julie Menon, who also faced some criticism
This
after
feelings got
appearing on
hurt.
Rosenberg's show last month, condemned his remarks today as abhorrent. Meanwhile, WABC station owner John Katzimatidis told me this afternoon WABC is opposed to personal attacks against any individual, and that while Sid Rosenberg is entitled to his own personal opinions, his statements do not reflect my opinions or WABC's. That statement from Katzimatidis coming after the Council on American Islamic Relations called on him to fire Rosenberg, something Katzimatidis did not address.
You can't have a
his
First
statement.
Amendment anymore? Now you get fired because you call somebody a fucking roach? You fucking... He's worse. I'm calling you a dirty rat. Mamdani the dirty rat roach. There you go. He reminds me of Rat Boy. Have you ever seen the movie Rat Boy from back in the 80s? That's Mamdani. Okay, let's keep it moving. Actually, let's resize this real quick and let's watch. Play, put up the sound. There we go.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant
Yeah, Rat
hypocrisy of
Boy.
the left. And of course, here's the meme of the day brought to you by 5mind.com. You know, as I'm observing what's going on here in Iran, I keep thinking to myself, it feels as if we're in uncharted territory. I don't think we've ever seen anything this relentless, this decisive, this overwhelming in its force. It feels almost as if you have the unstoppable force, and the only thing that could stop it is the immovable object, but Iran's no immovable object. It feels like a brand new, almost military experiment, possibly enabled by the technological advancements of the modern day. It's air power on a completely different level. It's been only a few days and it feels almost like the Iranian regime has been completely annihilated. Let me show you the extent of that decimation and let's discuss what's going on here. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right,
So you
folks,
gotta remember, they
so I
got a
feel
lot
like
of
you
equipment
probably
in the
heard this
mountains.
story, but we obviously have to lead
A
with
lot
it.
of
And
bombs.
if you haven't, well, get ready. We're getting actual bombshell reports of an Israeli air operation that appears to have completely leveled a meeting of the Iranian Supreme Council as they were literally in the process, in the middle of counting votes to pick their next supreme leader.
I'm told by a senior Israeli official that the Israelis just struck the Supreme Council gathering where the Iranians were meeting to choose a new supreme leader. This is a significant development and again speaks to the Israeli intelligence about this war. They just targeted the meeting in Tehran where what's left of the leadership was gathering to choose a new supreme leader.
So basically, the entire council in charge of picking the next Shia leader essentially got Thanos gloved. I mean, like I said, we are in uncharted territory. We have never seen an assault of this magnitude. It's no holds barred, total decimation from the sky. I think that message is very clear. It's saying, fill the spot, become the next Ayatollah leader. I dare you. The previous Ayatollah, Khomeini, well, he's no longer with us. Then it appears his replacement followed, and just as we're getting news that they're now appointing his son, Iran International is claiming that Mojtaba Khomeini, the son of the late Ayatollah, has been elected as Iran's next supreme leader. We get news the entire council is no longer with us. What comes to mind is dead man walking. It appears the next guy might be eliminated by the weekend. It seems whoever wants to take the role of next Shia leader, whoever assumes the role of the supreme Ayatollah, instantly is hasta la vista. I've truly never never seen anything like it. And that just appears to be the central core of the operation. No, it's more widespread than that, because as they're getting completely obliterated in terms of their headquarters and their leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, their drone programs, basically all their weapons assets appear to be getting decimated across the board. We're getting so many crazy updates from Central Command. You got this little video here with the caption that reads, the Iranian regime had 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman. Today, they have 0. The Iranian regime has harassed and attacked international shipping in the Gulf of Oman for decades. Those days are over. Freedom for maritime navigation has underpinned American and global economic prosperity for more than 80 years. U.S. forces will continue to defend it. We are looking at the complete devastation of Iran's Navy fleet, and the operations appear to go well beyond that. They're targeting and annihilating everything. Headquarters, air bases, Navy bases, their mobile drone deployment infrastructure as well. Just take a look.
The hell? Just taking them all. Look at that. Boom. Just getting them all. Oh, wow. They're just getting them, like, everything. I don't need the music part, but as you can see, annihilating. Oh, I saw this yesterday. Was it there for yesterday?
Hard. I've never seen anything like it. They don't appear to be taking this half in, half out approach. And, kind of in a twisted way, I can appreciate that. Engaging in acts of war, how else can you describe what's happening right now? And doing so half-assed, well, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked in the past. This kind of soft, passive, naive approach. No, in my mind, if you're going to do it, if you've decided enough is enough and it's time to pull the trigger and basically hit the reset button in Iran, which appears to be what's happening, well, you got to do so with no reservations. And I get some people have apprehensions and criticisms, but once you've crossed the Rubicon, so to speak, there's no turning back now. I guess now the job title is Operation Best Outcome. And really, if you want the best outcome, you can't go in half-assed. No more tacit actions leading to massive power vacuums. No, essentially eliminate the power that could potentially be vacuumed, at least militarily. And just from the looming threat on anybody that dare take the position as supreme leader, in that sense, don't create a power vacuum, create a power black hole that no one dares to fill. And call me crazy, but when shit hits the fan at this level, well, then I think it breaks down to a question of patriotism. The president was elected on behalf of the people, and based on the information that he's been provided, he's taking these steps, and now it's frickin' on. It's on like Donkey Kong. Well, the call's been made on an executive level. Whine and bitch and moan all you want. No, it's time to be Team America, and it's time to get the job done. The ignition phase is over. It's fully ignited. It's all in or nothing. Pandora's box has been opened. And frankly, I think at this point, in a righteous world, the entire world would basically adopt that position. I guess bet against America at your own freaking peril. But betting against the modern American military when it's decided to go no holds barred, I don't know who would seriously take that bet, especially in defense of Iran. I guess all this to say we're at the point where the decision has been made. And now the question is, are you in or are you out? I think when push comes to shove, most people are probably choosing the in option, especially when you truly consider the rationale for taking down the Ayatollahs. People often say, oh, it's Israel's war, it's Israel's war. But just thinking back to Soleimani, the guy that Trump initially completely evaporated, I guess the pilot program for everything we're seeing now, he's responsible for an epidemic of roadside bombs that took many American lives. The Iranians for decades have deployed disgusting military tactics and practices. Just pay attention to what they're doing right now, indiscriminately launching all kinds of missiles and cluster bombs. You have these dog shit Iranian missiles with no freaking seeking system. They're not accurate. These guys are just launching them into the air, hitting civilian zones. They attacked a freaking hotel in a neighboring Arab nation, just aimlessly hitting civilian targets. They're completely out of control. Fundamentally, I think that's hard to argue against, not to mention the clear pursuit of nuclear weapons, the chance of death to America and their parliament. Honestly, in a lot of ways, especially when you're stuck in this position, it's like pick a road. Well, the choice seems pretty damn clear, especially when the sales pitch here, what we've been presented with Trump's limited track record here is kind of the option of total autocratic annihilation manipulation. Click a button and boom, it's a hard reset. Autocratic regimes sent back to the frickin' Stone Age. I mean, we all acknowledge the basic existence of the Iran threat. It's a real thing. You can live in a fairy tale land if you want, but Iran, intrinsically, in the way that it's acted, it's a global security threat. Well, what if we see the complete elimination of the Iran threat? It might actually happen, and really, who can argue against that? If the results are there, everybody wants to, all of a sudden be a foreign policy or strategy genius the moment this stuff pops off. But what if you're wrong? And what if this accomplishes something?
Actually,
what
the
if
next
it
video is
works?
the last
Then
video.
what? Well, I guess time will tell. But again, it's
It'll be a good one,
operation
though.
best possible outcome. The Trump administration has obviously taken a massive leap, a massive risk. Let's see if they could pull it off. I'll let time tell instead of trying to be a time teller. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right, so we're gonna go to the last one, the last video of the night, and that one I'm leaving for Melody King. So let's go ahead and watch.
10 historic paintings that clearly depict UFOs, Part 2, 5 through 1. The following paintings are located in the Notre Dame de Beaune area of France. They are Renaissance works from the 15th and 16th century on display there. As you can see with this painting, up in the corner, a flying saucer
Yeah, I've seen these paintings
with a
before.
bubble or a dome on top. Number 4, we have the Miracle of Snow, painted by Marcelino da Palicale. This displays the event known as the Legend of the Snowfall that happened in Rome on a hot summer's day in August, sometime in the 4th century. It's said that while the townsfolk were investigating this anomaly, Jesus and Mary were sitting on a cloud looking down on them. As you can see, there are many disc-shaped clouds, and they're pretty uniform. Experts believe that they could be ETs because oftentimes weather anomalies come with the sightings of UFOs. Number 3, the glorification of Eucharist. Scholars believe this was painted by Ventura Salimbini in 1600 after being commissioned by the church. It's said that the painting either suggests alien life or the possibility of time travel. Some people believe that the globe-shaped object between Jesus and the Holy Father is actually a monitoring device. They say it's either that or a telescopic device, given the little lens at the bottom of the globe. Experts also say they believe they are each holding on to some sort of antenna to watch over and monitor the people of Earth. Also, how it possibly represents time travel. Here you have a veil, and inside that you have some sort of globe around what seems to be a ball or planet. But most importantly, notice what it's sitting on. It looks like a TV with a radio frequency or wave going through it. Pretty crazy. And here up top, you have Jesus and God with the antennas trying to get it to come in. Interesting. Here we have Israel's Put Your Hope in the Lord painting. It seems to depict a disc-shaped UFO above a burning church. The painting currently sits in the Dominican monastery in Romania. The location is near the notorious city of Transylvania, which was once the home of Vlad the Impaler. Historians argue that it's just a shield, but most think otherwise, given that there's a smoke trail following it, and it looks as though it may be crashing. Finally, number 1, the crucifixion of Christ displayed in a cathedral in the country of Georgia. Similar to the one in Kosovo, there's one craft in each corner of the painting. If you look closely, you can see little beings inside, and seems to be thrusters coming off the craft. So is it possible these paintings are displaying UFOs? What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
So if you don't know, there are many, many paintings, artworks, historic paintings, and also cave drawings, different temple carvings, all types of things that depict these UFOs, okay? UFOs coming through the clouds. But understand, almost all of them, especially in the paintings, they are tied to Jesus Christ in some way. They're tied to Jesus Christ. And I was actually shocked to find out how many of these things that there are. Now, I do not believe in UFOs, okay? The Bible says that we live in a spiritual world, guys. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, that there are angels and there are demons, demonic beings. We know about the fallen angels we've talked about and how they mated with women and created Nephilim. That's where we get giants. That is where I believe we also get these alien, reptilian, seed of the serpent type of creatures or people or beings. They're not people. But when people talk about reptilians, right? Seed of the serpent, that is where they come from. This is all
Crazy
in the
people
Bible,
from
and
10 years
they have
ago are
programmed us
looking
and
a lot less
conditioned us through
crazy today.
Hollywood, right, and
Yeah,
sci-fi to say that this is no, these are they come from
I
another
agree.
planet because we're this spinning globe and we're barreling through space and all these other things. All of that is evolution. All of it. Okay. The Bible is clear about these things. And if most of us, if you're like me, okay, I paid attention to, but not really, not the fine details. But we know a lot of our history has been hidden from us. The
Oh yeah,
majority, I would say.
I say
Like
that all the
I've
time.
I've played the videos before on my other
The
channel. I
real
don't know if I
Bible
did
is
it
in
over here,
it's on the
where
ground
they
under the
tell us we were
Vatican.
founded on this great Christian nation, and these were just
It's
pilgrims who
really
wanted
deep.
to, serve God and be free. But if you go and look through it, we were founded by Freemasons, Luciferian Freemasons. I kid you not. You will find this all over the place. DC has a pentagram with DuPont circle, Logan circle. If you connect these all together, they form a pentagram. I've shown in a video where District of Columbia. Columbia, a statue sits on top of the Capitol. Well, who is Columbia? Well, there's a bigger version of that same one in the Capitol. It's a giant statue, and it's essentially ISIS. Okay, her name also goes with Liberty and several other names, right? And Ishtar is another one where she's the granddaughter of Noah, where she married her own father and then married her son, Gilgamesh, who is known as Nimrod in the Bible, keeping it in the same bloodline, that demonic bloodline, the seed of the serpent. This is where you can find it. And this is all over DC, how we were founded. You'll find the little Masonic little G all over every statue. And in fact, George Washington, there's a statue of him. If you know what Baphomet looks like with the no shirt, then the kind of skirt, and then doing the little hand signals. I'm not doing the hand signals. But that was originally supposed to go on our capital. But they decided not to, and then put Columbia, which is, like I said, is ISIS, Ishtar. All of that. They decided to do that. And and he is literally in his statue dressed as Baphomet, doing the hand signals. You can go to a museum today in DC and see this. These signs are all over the place. In fact, the Capitol is the womb of Ishtar. And if you look at the Washington Monument, that is a man's junk. Okay. And there's a whole story that ties to this. But understand, we have been under a great deception. Part of that is Ghislaine Maxwell's father on McGraw Hill, where most of our school books came from. But the indoctrination, when it talks about how we've been deceived, I don't think people understand the level of deception. Things that they've gotten us to believe in, even as to take on as Christians, that those are nowhere found in the Bible. These are things that they have set up, systems and institutions, in order to keep us blind. But now the veil is lifting, especially with the Epstein files. We're seeing more and more of people waking up and see how everything is a lie. Nothing makes sense. The way we thought justice would be, it's not. Even though the word justice, if you with etymology, that is literally the name of a demonic god being that existed. She was known even as Diana to the Greeks. So these different gods had different names depending on the civilization. But that's who ruled. And the Bible says that Satan is the ruler of this world and that this is what he does. He rules the government. And so the fact that this has never been shown to, I think, the majority of people in their school books, or we've learned about these things, even in churches, they don't talk about these things. I've never heard them talk about it. It's just more of like a spiritual battle, but there's no signs, there's no wonders, they don't really show any historical evidence of these things. So people are just quick to be like, oh, that's a bunch of spooky pooky Bible talk. But all throughout history, these things have been shown. Now, why are we talking about this? Because now they want to unveil the fact that there's aliens, right? Coming from another planet, which is not true. These are demonic beings that have always been here. They have always been here. If you don't know, there are cities underground. This is documented even by the CIA. You can look it up. There are like tunnel systems, but whole cities. Former military have come out and talked about these things where they exist. There's a reason why we can't go to Antarctica, certain parts of Antarctica, where the entire world, every single country has agreed on two things, right? They can't agree on anything else, but they've made treaties and they cannot break
William Berg?
Outer space and Antarctica.
Flew into the
and you have to start asking why. So Where all these paintings and civilizations that were they just making it up? They're just coming up with these things? No. There was a lot of biblical evidence to show that this may, and honestly, the way the Bible was stripped down, and he said it was because of canon and all of that. That's another story we'll get into. But I feel as they have changed words, they have done things in order so that we don't know this history at all. But you cannot tell me that all of these painters, all of these civilizations for thousands of years have depicted these things, talked about this, documented these things, and it doesn't exist. Because we know this, guys, this is angel technology. And I have gone over it before, but angel technology. If you take the book of Enoch out of the Apocrypha, it talks about how the fallen angels, 200, the 200 fallen angels who lusted after women and came to earth, well, they taught human beings technology. They taught us about makeup. They taught us even about abortion and weapons. They taught humans all of this stuff, and that included technology. And if you don't believe me, we'll get more into it, but let me play you some more.
Why are UFOs appearing in 700-year-old manuscripts, mate? Is this actually alien ships or one of humanity's biggest cover-ups? Let's check it out. First up, a 12th century manuscript describing a real event from 776 CE. During a siege on a Saxon castle, witnesses saw flaming, shield-like discs hovering in the sky. The objects appeared to start hovering over the top of the church, and the encounter terrified the attackers into immediate retreat. Now, historians say it could be meteors, but the descriptions sound awfully like modern UFO battles that we've heard throughout history. What do you think? Coincidence or a cover-up? Now, let's jump to the 19th century Japan. There's an 1825 book retelling the legend of Utsuro-bun, or Hollow Ship. Fishermen found a round metallic vessel washing ashore, with a beautiful woman inside who spoke an unknown language and clutched a strange box. And there were unknown symbols inscribed inside the vessel itself. The woman wore fine clothes, spoke an unknown language, and clutched a plain wooden box she wouldn't let anybody touch. The vessel contained food, water, and decorated interiors, but no oars or sails. Then, unable to communicate with her specifically, the locals eventually put her back in the vessel and pushed her back out to sea, where she vanished off into the horizon. Now let's jump to the 17th century, Transylvania, a church fresco titled, Israel, Put Your Hope in the Lord. It shows a domed saucer-like object hovering over a fiery building. Trailing smoke like exhausts, local call it a symbol of divine protection, but UFO hunters see a classic flying saucer. Now, this was found painted in a remote Romanian church. Why include this if this wasn't based on something I witnessed? The mystery deepens. Finally, the late 15th century, St. Jeremiah's Contemplation, from the Urbinate Bible in the Vatican Museum. St. Jeremiah meditates amid mountains and towns, but in the sky, a glowing round object shoots a straight yellow beam like laser down to Earth. Religious visions or captured UFO tech. Now, this Renaissance miniature blends the mystic and the mundane, leaving us to ask, were artists encoding alien sightings for future generations to behold?
Okay, so I wanted to pause here because this is the original painting, right? But what I showed you, oops, sorry, we're not showing that, not yet. That was the original. Now, this is what somebody kind of like did a rendering on top to possibly show what this depicts, you know, like that typical UFO that we see in movies. But let me turn down this volume. But look here. So that is the original painting. And this is called The Last Judgment, also called the Altarpiece of San Marco. The artist is Fra Angelico, and this was dated between 1431 and 1435. It is early Italian Renaissance, and it is located today in Museo di San Marco in Florence.
Wow.
But look at this.
That
So
looks creepy.
all of these artists, and there's a ton more I haven't been able to get to, and the cave drawings and the depictions of helicopters, tanks, guys, they're all over ancient
like the cover.
civilizations. But again, guys, these are not aliens coming in here. That is a psyop. That is to deceive
ET
us,
shit.
right? That is to deceive us. But just look at this that I'm showing you right now, where it's showing people inside, and you can even see in the middle people being taken up within this craft. Now, I want to show you this painting, right? This is the Baptism of Christ by, what is his name? Art de Gelder. But let me move this up a little bit for you. And I wanted to make it big so you could see it on the screen. But
Wait,
take
I've
a
seen
look
this
at
movie
this.
before.
Look at that at the top. Look at it at the top. Look at what it's depicting. Okay, so now the full painting is on display. You see this all throughout history. Now, today they've told us that these are aliens, these UFOs from other planets, but that's not what was depicted all throughout history. That is until not a space agency came along, NASA, in 1958. And this is the thing. They are depicted, the crafts, a lot of them are depicted when it comes to Christ, something biblical. But then you also know that there's demonic beings, and understanding how these things work. We don't know. I don't know all the answers to it, but I think this is something to pay attention to. I think this is something important, something to add to your knowledge base so that you are not deceived. Right? I believe what they're talking about, a lot of these creatures or these aliens they're talking about are the demonic ones. But understand that there were angels, and even how Ezekiel describes how an angel, one of the angels of God looks like. It's an Ezekiel wheel. It's a wheel within a wheel of metal, and an eyeball in the middle, and then the other eyeballs around. Could it be eyeballs? Could it be cameras? Could it be lights? I don't know, but I know the technology that we have. If you look at anything in technology, guys, have you seen the story of how the television was invented? It's insane. Hopefully, I can go over that. There's so many topics I need to go over on this channel. But if you just read through it, it makes no sense. And it looks like they have created backstories for things that they've discovered and found, and then drip that technology out and then make us pay for it. All right. There's a lot of layers to this that have to be unpacked. But I thought this was something that would be really interesting for you guys to look at and maybe just, research on your own, because these are things, until I started just really diving deep into it, these weren't things on the surface. You have to go looking for it. Maybe some of you have seen it, maybe, but I think the majority of you have never known that these things have existed. And I want
Yeah,
to
I've
open
seen
your
this
eyes,
before.
because the great deception is here. There's now new news about the mark of the beast technology. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the things that are happening, including the Iran war. Digital ID is still coming down. Like, the net is being set. And right now, what's happening with Iran is that this could be the catalyst for World War III, and particularly because of the Strait of, why can I not think of the name? Of
Most,
Hamas or
no,
something. I can't think of it right now, but I did a whole video on it earlier. Sorry, guys, I got a lot going on. But because of this strait,
almost.
like, it is literally going to bleed the world of oil, and a lot of nations of their wealth, including Saudi Arabia, will lose up to 90% of their GDP if that strait is continued to be blockaded by Iran. But not only that, they're hitting their water systems, like the list goes on. We are seeing other nations being dragged into this, particularly Russia said something today, and also China. So we've got to be astute and watch out for these things, because there will be wars, there will be
That's
rumors of
on.
wars. And then also there will be signs within the sun, moon, and stars that Jesus particularly told us to look for. Whether you saw, or at the same time that the planets all align, 7 planets align, so you could see them all in a row. Then we have Purim, which is actually a festival that is from Esther to celebrate, guys, to celebrate literally Israel defeating Persia. Israel defeating Persia. That in Persia, if you don't know, is Iran, modern day Iran. So that is what they celebrated, right? On the same day that we had the blood moon for the 3rd year in a row. These are the signs and wonders. I have some things about the clouds I want to get into. And in fact, I wanted to get into it in this video, but this one is already running long. I had a clip with Joe Rogan, but I think it's kind of repeating some of the things that I'm saying as well. Now, I have a lot more for you guys, but I want to make sure I tell you about realmelanieking.com. That is my merch shop, and I am showing you
All
my
right, that's her merch
conspiracy
shop. She
section.
got sold that
Okay, so I
merch.
have a lot of cool
It's a
things
good
over here,
thing
things
because
you're
she
not going to
needs
find
to
anywhere else.
sell and pay bills. But I gotta get going because it's already getting late. My alarm already went off. That's the alarm that the show needs to come to an end. I want to thank everyone who passed through very much, and those who are rewatching, thank you. And I'll be back on here tomorrow. Trying to decide what I'm gonna do with the Pokemon, what I'm gonna open, and what I'm going to record because it's gonna be a very busy month with the Pokemons, and got a little something special coming for next month with the Perfect Order. There's a new set that's coming, Pokemon set, which I got some stuff coming in for me to open. But the thing is, I practice patience, and a lot of people I notice online, they go and they start opening everything. They would just want to and just rip through everything and just get their special cards and and I just feel like that's not right. For one, I want to enjoy my cards and I want to put it on my shorts every day, put it in my shorts, my YouTube shorts, and then show you guys what cards I pull out and show you the art of the cards and what the cards are like for. Like you could read what their attacks are, and they're beautiful cards. They're really beautiful. And I got a new set. Well, I got the Ascended Heroes. Ended up getting 2 more boxes, 2 more ATBs, and I got for the Perfect Order. I got 2 ETBs coming in and a booster box. So that would be good content for a good couple of months. Trying to pull out whatever hits we can pull out, and gotta remember, all this stuff is not for me; it's for my niece. I just get to enjoy the excitement, and then she'll get to enjoy the excitement when these cards and stuff are really like very pricey, and keep a couple of them sealed so that way when I do sell them in the future, they'll give me a sealed deal price, and then use that money to purchase the car for my niece and help her with the insurance and gas for the year. So it's part of my plan. It's part of my master plan. But my master plan, it's enjoying whatever comes my way through these cards that I started getting back to collecting again because it's a good hobby and it keeps your mind refreshed and focused to do something. And I really would like to pull something really nice and eventful. Maybe one day I could get a God pack and you'd be like, oh my God, I got a God pack. And then maybe we'll get that 1,000 subscribers after, because it's very hard climb. It's like scratching like nails, climbing up a wall and just using your nails, and your nails are all bloody. And you're like, I'm not giving up. I'm still going to the top. Yep, I'll get there. I'll get there one day. But with that said, I'm out of here. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch you on the flip side. And I'll be back here once again around 7:30ish. We'll see. I don't know. It all depends on what happens. Everything it goes day by day, and we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So enjoy tonight, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.